Good afternoon. I guess it's morning. My name is Patrick Allen, and I am an interviewer for the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress, and it's conducted here in Southwest Ohio through the Cincinnati Hamilton County Public Library under the direction of Brian Powers. And today is April the 17th, 2026, and we have the privilege of interviewing a Vietnam veteran, Ron Pennington, at his home in Mason, Ohio. Ron, let me thank you, first of all, for doing this interview, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. It's my honor to conduct this with you.
Well, before we get into your military, I always like to talk about your upbringing, your family, and all. What were your mom and dad's names?
My mother was Mildred Irene Pennington.
What was her maiden name?
Singleton.
Okay.
They're both English, the old English names. And my dad was J. Richard Pennington.
And where were they born?
My mother was born in Maysville, Manchester, across from Maysville, Ohio, Kentucky, but it was Ohio, across the river, Manchester, I think it is. And then my dad was born in Pennington Gap, Virginia, named after my ancestors.
Okay. I haven't been to Pennington Gap, but that's way in the southwest corner of Virginia, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the coal country.
Yeah.
There was early settlers, and the town was named after my forefathers.
Well, tell me a little bit about your forefathers. Before our interview, you were telling me that you had relatives in the Revolutionary War and were celebrating 250 years this year.
Yes, my sixth great-grandfather, Micaiah M. Pennington, you can look him up in the Daughters of American Revolution. He was a captain in the Revolutionary War, and then there's a long line of veterans of Penningtons that fought in the war, including my father, which fought in World War II and damn near lost an arm. They didn't take him off if they could save him, but they give him like maybe 7-8 months of rehab to be able to use that arm. And
what branch was he in?
He was an Army, same thing. He was a veteran, infantry veteran of the 44th Infantry.
Where was he, in the Pacific or Europe?
In Europe.
Do you know anything? Did he talk about his experiences at all?
Hardly at all. He you wouldn't even know he had a Purple Heart, or I'm real proud of the combat infantry badge I received. Most guys are, because they do the fighting, but he had one of them. I didn't know it till he died, but I knew he deserved one. But he was one guy that hardly ever talked about it.
So
the only story I remember, he said he was pissed off at the Red Cross because he said his arm was almost freezing, and he was trying to make it back to camp, and they went by and gave him some cigarettes, and he said they didn't give him right, and his arm was dangling in there. And I said, well, he might have been delusional or something like that, but that's the only story I ever heard him tell. And the only advice he gave me: keep your head down and don't shoot unless you got something to hit. It's pretty good advice.
And didn't you have some other advice about volunteering?
Well, I to tell young people that's going in, I tell them, put your big boys' pants, and or big girls too. Now they got the women in on, because you're going to be on your own, and your Uncle Sam's the only one going to be taking care of you, and it's a whole different life than you're used to.
Well, what year? And where were you born?
I was born in Glendale, Ohio, 1948.
Glendale's suburb of Cincinnati?
Yeah, right by Green Hills, down in that area. It was actually, they had a home for unwed mothers, and or you could have a baby cheap, and my dad must have been cheap, because my mom went there and had 2 of her babies, and one of them she went to Christ.
Give me your birth date again?
February 2nd, 1948. Groundhog's Day.
And how long did you live in Glendale?
I never lived there. We lived here, and but that was the closest hospital, and all my life I've been here.
Where were you living?
Mason. We were staying with our grandmother, which is St. Bernard, Elmwood area, and then we moved here. But when I was a baby, we stayed with upstairs with my grandmother, which I guess Elmwood Place.
All right. So, and when did you move from your grandmother's? How old were you?
Probably two and a half.
And where did you move to?
Right here in Mason.
In Mason, Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I got a brother, younger brother. He's 14 and a half years younger than me, Jerry Pennington. He's
Gary or Jerry?
Jay. And then I've got one sister that's deceased, Glenda Gillen. You might know the Gillens up in Lebanon where you live. He was in a farming and everything like that. But
her married name was Dylan?
No, Gillen, Gillen. Glenda. She died 4 years ago. And then I have an older sister, Brenda, and she's in Forest Park area. Don't keep too close to each other.
How old is Jerry?
Jerry, 64.
And Brenda is how old?
80, going on 81.
Is Jerry married?
Yeah, well, his wife just passed, yes, but he married and 5 kids.
What was his wife's name?
Sherry, with an S.
Where'd you go to school? Grade school?
I went all the way to school in Mason.
Mason Elementary and high school?
Yep. Junior high and high school, yes.
Well, I've been in the general area for a long time. Mason had really boomed, hasn't it?
Well, when I was a child, a kid, you went to kindergarten. By the way, I was in kindergarten there too, all the way through the 12th grade at that little school. I think that's 4th Street, maybe. It's right down from Yost. Yeah. That side between that and Two Cities Pizza. That's where you graduated from and everything. But I think when I turned about in the 8th grade, they built the first other school, which was on Mason Montgomery Road, and that's where I finished.
What kind of work did your dad do?
My dad was a factory worker. He was a carpenter for Gardner Richardson in Laughlin.
Gardner? Gardner?
Yeah. It's had several names, but he worked there 33 years.
How about your mom? She work outside the home?
Just during the war, she worked at Wright Aviation for the war effort, and that would be the GE, where the GE plant is. That was Wright Aviation at the time. Other than that, she was a homemaker.
Do you know what she did for Wright?
No, just whatever they wanted to build the planes. They brought all the help they could to get them things built, and it was right there where, like I say, where GE is.
Do you know what? Was she working on the fuselage, or was she working on components for the planes?
No, don't have no idea.
All right. How about during grade school or high school? Did you work?
Probably. If I'd done anything too much, it would be work. I like money, and I like fast cars, and I like pretty women, and so all that goes together. But I went to work very, very young. I worked probably. I could do a valve job on a car by the time I was 10 years old, and that's hard to believe, but I could. And so I worked in gas stations, and I did mechanical work, and stayed with that until I graduated. I took automotive, and I was really enthralled with automobiles and loved them. And that's what I did. I worked in probably 3 or 4 different gas stations. Ended up lying about my age in school, and went to work for the Standard Oil Company when they was building 71. And I worked full time. Got out of school early to work full time. So it kept me from. I was a pretty good athlete. It kept me from being because I couldn't participate in both, but I wanted the money. But I bought a Corvette when I was 17 years old too.
All right. And what year was it?
That would have been it would be about 64.
And what year was the Corvette?
1960.
A 60 Corvette?
Yeah, yep.
What did your dad and mom think about you buying that?
Well, got it. I had to move out of the house. My dad says, I'm not buying no race car for you. And I said, well, I work, make my own money. I might as well not live here. And I went and lived with my sister in Lebanon.
And you were what, 16?
Maybe 16, almost 17. And,
How long did you keep that Corvette?
well, that's another story. I hate to get into it, but I had it when I went to Vietnam. They were supposed to be the steward of my Corvette, and I came back, they had sold it. And we'll let it go at that. And I've never forgot it.
One unhappy Corvette owner.
Yeah. I said you have the right if something happens or something. But I mean, when I come back and found out it was gone, I devastated. But they must not. I got wounded twice. They must have not thought I wouldn't make it back, or my mom. She never had a license, and she got her license, and they said something about they needed a room for her to park her car.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, but that's a sore subject.
So when you graduated high school, did you work or did you get in the military?
Well, no. Well, I tried. Yeah, I worked. I worked a lot of jobs. I really wanted to get into a trade, and I liked the construction business. I liked cars, but I was a pretty handy electrician too. I worked for a heating company on weekends when I worked in the gas stations, and I took up real good with electrical, and I picked it up really good, and so I was wanting to get in like with Ford or GE and get into apprenticeship and become a top-notch electrician, but at the time it would have been '66. You couldn't hardly get them jobs because they had to hold them jobs for you. If you got in the union, they had to hold the jobs for you to when you came back. You had to have you had to give your job back, and that was probably the word was put out. This guy, we don't want to get him in there. Don't let him get in the union, and you'd get laid off pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So I kept with the heating business, and then I can go on and tell you from there, but I'll let you ask.
Well, how'd you get into the military? Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Well, I had two buddies that was a little bit older than me, and we lifelong went to school every year together from kindergarten, and they somehow maybe they got held back or something, I don't know, but they was older than me, both of them, and they both got drafted, and I said, I'm not going to be far behind you, and I got to thinking, well, might be good. I might be able to stick with the same guy. You're a young kid, you don't. And I says, I'm just going to go up there and talk to him about volunteering for the draft, and that way I can get 2 years over, and I can get some money from the GE benefits for school, and go to college, go to night school, which I did. But anyway, so be it. I went down and signed up.
Where you say went down?
The federal building in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And they give you your physical and everything. Back then they needed men. They was getting so many. That was '66. That's when they was just like a slaughter over there in Vietnam, and they was really needing men. And so they went down. One of them got his physical. He had hernia. He didn't go. The other one, they checked his record, and he had a felony. I don't know what he did, but he had a felony, which probably wasn't nothing much, probably DUI or something. I don't know, but they never went. I went, so I waved by out from a Greyhound bus.
So when did you enlist?
December 14th, 1966.
December 14th.
Yep.
And when did you get out?
December the 13th, 1968.
After you signed up down to Federal Building, then did you immediately go for your physical, or did you go home?
They did the physical right down there at the time.
All right.
And so no, I got on the bus and waved at them guys. They were standing there waving at me, and I'm thinking, boy, you're not the smart guy here, but no. And then they took me right to Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Okay. And what did you do at Fort Knox? Is that where you had your basic training?
Yeah, I had my basic training, and a whole new life started.
How long was basic?
Probably 8 weeks.
And what kind of things did you do during basic?
Well, just march, run, Phys ed, they really make a, if you're not a man then, and it was rougher then because they was preparing you for war, and they knew that you was going to have a lot of challenges, and they emphasized qualifying on light weapon infantry type of stuff. But it was really cold. It was December. Anybody been to Fort Knox will tell you about misery and agony, the hills that we didn't walk them, we ran them. We had a badass DI.
Well, now when you were enlisted, where were you living at the time? Were you living with your relatives, or were you living at home?
Well, I go back to the Corvette deal. I came back home. My dad came up there one day and had them keys. And he says, "Here's that Corvette you wanted me to sign for," and he had the keys. And
so you were back home.
I was back home, yeah.
Good.
And so I was living in the home. But
what did your mom and dad think about you enlisting in the Army?
Well, my dad served, like I said, in 44th in World War II, and it was just things traditionally you did. You followed suit. And
well, but he had been injured in the war. Was he worried about you?
Yes, he sure was, and he was. My mom, I don't think it hit her as much as it did him. He knew what I was going to get into, but a lot of people don't know what war's about, and they had to have my mom. Of course, my mom had my dad. She was visiting him when he came back rehabbing. I think they moved him to Indiana to rehab, military hospital over there, and so. But no, it was just a thing that everybody was doing because everybody was getting drafted, you know. So it was just the thing at the time.
So you do your stint at Fort Knox, and you're finished with your basic. Were you able to go back home before your next assignment?
Maybe a short time.
Okay.
No, I did not. That they let us go home. They gave us a break around Christmas. And that caused us to not get a break after basic to AIT, and so we didn't go. We went straight to the planes and flew. I didn't get my papers till I got on the plane. I don't know why, but I really still thought I was going to go to a motor pool, get a job working on the vehicles.
Work on equipment like you had.
Because I had a great, background in it.
Yeah.
And so I got on a plane. I flew to Louisiana and got off the plane. And
was that Fort Polk?
Well, it was at an Air Force base, and then they got us on a bus and we pulled in to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and it's at home for the combat infantrymen for Vietnam. And at that time, they just opened it up at a place called Tigerland. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but they made a movie about it, and most people that era they all heard about the badass Tigerland, and that's where I took my training.
And describe Tigerland for somebody that might be listening or watching this.
It was built to mimic as close as they could in the United States. They had Panama training, but in the United States, as they could in Vietnam, and that's what you was going to go to, which is a great idea. I was one of the first classes to go, and it was tough. It was tough. You dealt with not only in training, you dealt in maneuvers, you dealt with the enemy, which was in the maneuvers, but you also had the snakes and all the terrain close to Vietnam, and they had hooches built with the thatch roofs, and they had everything to mimic as well as they could. And I did an interview with the Mason Historical Society, and the lady, the gal that did a good job that did the interview, she did a lot of in-depth Google search, and she said that most of the troops that went to Tigerland had a better return rate than a lot of other ones, and she said, but to say Tigerland was tough, that's an understatement, and it was tough training. We was ready to go when we come out.
Give me an idea of the average day, from the time you got up to the time you went to sleep while you were there at Tigerland.
Run, walk,
What time did you get up in the morning?
probably 4:30.
And what were you wearing?
Fatigues
And you have a backpack?
at times. At times.
And what all was in your backpack?
Well, what's mostly what they call strike gear. They would have grenades. You'd have your canteen. You'd have your ammunition. You'd have sometimes you'd have a first aid kit and pair of socks. Sometimes you just the stuff that and that was your strike gear. Now to have, like you were going to you're out there for weeks and everything, you would have more. You would have poncho liners. You would have ponchos. They're like a raincoat.
Yeah.
And heavily armed magazines. And the M1 I think we had there, maybe the M14.
How much did all this gear weigh?
Well, full pack was probably around 65 pounds.
And you're out there and you're hiking and you're running with this 65 pounds?
Yeah. But
how far would you have to run or hike?
Well, 3 miles, 4 miles, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
day and night, or
day and night, right? You did a lot of night maneuver. You're talking about training still, right? Night maneuvers. You'd crawl under the concertina wire, sometimes under live ammo. They tell you, so you can't raise up, but you'd be going under the wire, and they'd be shooting above you to get you. Sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes you just thought it was, but you treat it like it was live ammo.
Do you have any buddies that got injured during these training episodes?
I did.
You did? What happened to you?
Well, it was on a grenade. There was this great big old drill sergeant. Boy, he was like he was a really badass guy, and I had a habit. That's when I throw the grenades, live grenades, by the way. When I threw the grenades, I'd always watch where they went and watch the explosion. And that's the worst thing you can do, because you get the concussion from a grenade coming back and hitting you. And they try to teach you that. And they told me 2 or 3 times, get your head back. There's a way you do it. And I'd always watch and see how big of a deal they made. And finally, one time I was watching, and this foot hit my neck and pushed me down, my face down the mud. He says, "That you got your last warning." And I didn't watch again. but no,
didn't put that out of action for
no. I'm just sort of making a joke, but it did happen, because I took him serious after that. He sort of had me spotted, and he knew I liked to see the explosion, and he was going to make sure that he break me that. And he's a good guy, by the way.
How long were you at Tigerland?
A good 8 weeks, maybe a little more. And what's so interesting about that's where my dad trained to go to Europe.
Go to Europe.
At Fort Polk. And I think I probably slept in the same damn barracks. It was they was old. But when we was in Tigerland, the Tigerland portion, we was out sleeping. We was not in a barracks or nothing. We was out in the canopy, probably double canopy jungles of Louisiana, and we stayed right there. And another thing we had to worry about down there was the hogs.
The wild boar?
Yeah, wild boars. And GIs are sort of, we had C rations. We didn't get hot meals or none of that. We had C rations and I think M rations or whatever they call it, but there's 2 or 3 different ones. And we just had a pit there. We'd throw everything in that pit. And it happened to be real close to where we had a dugout area for a NDP for a night defensive position. And you'd hear them hogs come snorting in them cans there right behind you, and eating whatever we threw in there. But and they was mean, them damn hogs.
Did you ever have any bad experiences with wild boars?
Just seeing them. They're sort of scared of you. And some of them guys, they would take they was pretty smart old boys down the south, and they'd. We didn't train with live ammo. We trained with blanks, but they have they have dynamite in them, and you can get a fish hook. You can get a lead fish, not fish hook, but lead fish sinker, and you can bite down on them and stick them in a bullet, and they'll kill you. They're not probably as strong, and some of them couldn't get overcome. They'd have to make something like that and shoot them damn hogs, you know.
Oh.
And it was something where they'd been bred, and they couldn't figure out how they was doing it. And that's what they do, because you'd be out there and there's all kinds of bait places and stuff, and they're not watching you all the time, and that's sort of what they did.
Wow. So, did you have any training there at Tigerland on any specific weapons?
Everything they had, including the 50 caliber, which is really, I don't think a 50 caliber is considered a light weapon. Everything that the Army had, I trained on it along with everybody else.
That was the 50 caliber?
Including the 50 caliber.
Was that a machine gun you could carry, or did you have to put it on a tripod?
It was on a tripod, but it was probably the closest to a light weapon that had the most firepower that you could have, and it had a shell on them about that long, and they took a little bit of maneuvering to get them set up right and get them shooting, and and I was trained on that, and I even had a little bit of one of the newest things they had at the time was a starlight scope. I don't know if you ever heard of the starlight.
A night scope?
Night scope. And the stars, the illumination of the stars, you can see images of people. And they introduced us to the starlight scope, so I'd had that training, and I used them in Vietnam on ambush patrol.
Was that just on the 50, or was that on?
No, that wasn't on the 50. That would have been on a rifle.
Okay.
Or you could be handling it remote from the rifle. You could handle it by hand, or you could mount it on your AR-15.
Now, when you did you go out into Tigerland with the 50?
No, we did that on a range.
Okay. Did you do it over in Nam?
Oh, absolutely.
With a 50?
I was wounded. That's I think I was telling you about.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, but not often, but one time in particular, and a few other times. If he was in a base camp, which I didn't spend a lot of time in base camp. I was always in the jungle. Like most of my time was in the jungle. But if you're in a base camp, they had some of the perimeter bunkers with 50s, so you get a chance. You get a chance to use them then. And if they was in an area where you thought you was pretty sure you're going to have a heavily attack or involved in an attack, sometimes it would bring one out, and that's where I used it in the jungle, bad area.
Well, where'd you go from Fort Polk?
I went to Fort Polk, and they had there was like 60. I remember the number like yesterday. It was 1,651 of us graduated together of all the training there, and we all got orders for the 1st Infantry Division, which had the biggest and largest area in Vietnam, but we all got orders to go to the 1st Division, and we formed, the primary reason was to form a new company in all the battalions of the 1st Infantry Division. So they had Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, and they created Delta when I was in Delta Company. And so our orders was to go to Fort Lewis, Washington, go to Port of Tacoma, get on a ship and take a 23 day boat ride to Vietnam.
Where'd you leave from?
Well, we had a little delay there. The ship was coming from the Carolinas to there. I don't know why, and it broke down, and they had to repair the motor in it. And we had 30 days just doing nothing but raising hell and drinking beer, and we did our good share of that. Cause
where was that?
That was in Tacoma. Port Louis. We was in the 4th Infantry Division. 4th Division was already deployed, and we took their old barracks that was empty. And while we waited.
What was the barracks like? Was that wood?
No, there was wood at Fort Polk, but at Fort Lewis there was nice barracks, really nice barracks.
How many guys to an area?
Probably 100, 150. They had a lot of it. It was a good training facility there. Had a good Olympia beer too.
So you had 30 days there.
Yeah.
Did you have continuous training or what?
Well, they tried to, but most of the time, they come out there, guys would bomb it and stuff from the night before, and it was sort of like a sad sack type of deal. What are they going to do? You know, the saying was, what are they going to do? Draft us and send us to Vietnam? You know, so nobody.
Because you were going there anyway.
Yeah, no one gave a shit. So we.
Well, did you have a chance to come home between Fort Polk and Fort Lewis?
Yeah, yes, I did. I come home for probably 30. I come home for 30 days.
What'd you do at home?
Just what a 18-year-old kid going to do? You went to Mason Bowling Alley and drank beer and just had a good time.
Did you have a girlfriend at the time?
Yeah, Donna. Donna was my girlfriend. I'm sorry, I didn't. I should have said that first.
And when did you? Was Donna a classmate?
You're younger, yes, but she was a classmate. You're younger. Met her on the playground.
Here in Mason?
Yep.
What was she doing at the playground?
You don't really want to hear it. No, I met her on she was in the 5th grade. I was in the 6th grade, and she'll probably kill you to see this on a thing, but she was on teeter-totter.
Okay.
You know what a teeter-totter is?
Sure.
And you know, the girls all wear skirts back in them days.
Okay.
They didn't wear slacks and shorts. And every time she'd go up, I could see her panties.
Oh.
and there was yellow. So my God, and she's a beautiful little girl too. And I said, my God, so I'm out there playing second base, and I could see this teeter-totter. Now it's funny I can remember this, but I'll never forget it. And I missed a ball, and all them guys are hooting me. What's the matter? Wake up! What are you doing? I was either shortstop or second base. I should have had the ball.
You were watching Donna.
Yeah, and I was watching Donna. I just seen something I'd never seen, so later on I went and Vernon Pace was her teacher, and I worked in a gas station that night. I think I told you, and I walked over and talked to Vernon. I said he came in the gas station. And always, he was young. For his first teaching job out of UK. Okay. Great guy, and good old boy. And I said, Vernon, you got that Donna, her mom and dad owned the dairy light up there. I said, you got her in your class, right? Yeah. I said, I wrote her a note. Could you give it to her? He's sure I could. This is in the gas station. And that's the start of it. Now we didn't stay together but we never forgot each other. So. And it's a hell of a story.
So did you visit with her before you went to Fort Lewis?
Oh yeah, a lot. Her mom and dad, yeah.
What was Donna's maiden name?
Conover. You probably knew her dad.
Conover?
Yeah, Conover. Yeah, he was the first policeman in Mason, so I had to keep my nose clean. Yeah. He was first chief of police, by the way, in Mason. And they raced. They raced in Lebanon, her and her brother, Jim Conover. He was one of the leading drivers up there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you do your 30 days, you go out to Fort Lewis, and you get a delay there of 30 days.
Yeah.
And then you're off to Vietnam?
Yeah, you got 22 days. We went to, we took a ship to the USNS Geiger, and it was the most miserable, you get a bunch of soldiers on them things, and they're not used to being in the ocean. That ocean was really rough too.
How do you spell the ship's name?
Gieger. Gieger. It was a World War II troop carrier that was commissioned and back in order, operated by the Merchant Marines.
All right. So you leave Tacoma. You leave Tacoma on the USS Geiger.
Yeah. Last thing we could see was Mount Rainier. You could see that for a long ways.
Did you have any stops between there and Vietnam?
Stopped at Guam, and they let us all off the boat, and that was a mistake because you can imagine, they let us go into they had a Navy base there, and probably a Navy Air Force base, and they actually came over about 10, 11 o'clock and announced all Navy and and Air Force personnel back to your barracks because there was so many.
So many Army guys there?
Yeah, they like to fight. I'll put it that way.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they was, and that was their home. That was their EM club, enlisted man club. And
so did you get into it there?
I just drank. I just had a good time. And
How long were you there?
just overnight. And actually, I was almost late to get on the ship the next morning. There was 3 of us that got there right when they was ready to raise the
Gangplank?
Yeah.
Gee.
3 of us, but we overdid it.
So next stop was Vietnam.
Well, we went to the Philippine Straits, and
Okay.
that took a lot of people don't realize that. They say the Philippines, they think it's just one island. It took us one whole day to get through all those islands, and that was amazing to me because I've been through school, geography, history, and all that, but I had no idea the magnitude of those islands. And now when you look at World War II movies and find these guys are still living in caves, and there's so much there.
Yeah.
But that we didn't stop there, but we seen some places we could have stopped. And then in Hawaii, we got close to Hawaii, and we had a guy had appendix burst, and had a boat come out and get him, take him to a hospital in there. But that next thing we did, we stopped at Bung Tau, Vietnam.
Where was that?
Bung Tau.
Spell that.
Bungtauc, something like it. T-A-O-U, Tau, Bung Tau. It's right. It's on there. I mean, I thought I'd seen it. And it would be down there in Saigon. Bung Tau right here.
Bungtau?
Yep.
All right, let's show the camera. Let Mark get focused on this. Mark, is there a glare or anything?
There is, yeah.
Can I turn it?
There's glare there too. Glares are just kind of floating around on there.
Can we get rid of the glare?
Where are we going on it? Yeah, I got rid of the glare right now. Bottom.
It's right here.
All right.
Okay, while we have the map up, where'd you go from Young Tao?
Bung Tau. I went to Phuc Vinh, and I don't know if I can find it on here or not. It's let me get familiar with this a little bit. A place called Phuc Vinh, which is
Was that up toward the fish hook?
yeah. It's not too. It's right here. That's Phuc Vinh right here.
And how long were you there?
Probably 2 or 3 months. I wasn't there. I was my base camp. We kept us there about a month or 3 weeks or something, getting us ready for battles and stuff like that. But we was always in the forest. It was always in the jungle.
Where did you spend most of your time in Nam?
Quan Loy. But let's go back to Phuc Vinh a minute. 3rd day we got there, they was 1,600. You remember I told you it was 1,651 of us. So we was green as gourd. Charlie knew that, and we
the camera.
and we fought down there. We fought mostly VC, not the NBA with the stars on their helmet and all that. We fought the local VC, and they was a worthy opponent. But 3rd day in the country, they knew we had the same guys that we was fighting at night. It was cutting our hair, shining our shoes if we got them shined, or doing the laundry, working on the base. They was that type of situation. They knew everything we were doing.
They worked on you in the daytime, and they're trying to kill you at night?
Yeah, right. And anybody that's been over there can tell you these stories. But they 3rd day we was there, we got the worst mortar and rocket attack ever launched on that base camp, and we had tents. We had tents with cots in them and everything, and mine got a direct hit, and a lot of other ones did. Our commanding officer, our captain, he got wounded. A lot of guys got wounded. I don't know if we had any killed, but this was the whole base got attacked. It was unbelievable. It was we was green. It was chaos to say the least. 1,600, and we wasn't all together. We was over this area.
But this is the first time you'd been under a heavy...
Other fart. It was rockets and mortars, and I got hit, and I dug it out with a I carried a knife, and didn't even know nothing about no Purple Hearts or nothing at the time, and just I didn't even seek no help.
Did you get hit by shrapnel?
Yeah, shrapnel.
From a grenade or mortar or what?
Probably a grenade. That was a grenade. No, a mortar. Or it could have been a rocket. They didn't have no grenades. This was all rocket or mortar. And
Well, tell me about the base camp. How big was this base camp?
oh, they had several battalions. There's a big 1,650 men.
So this is a huge operation.
Yeah, it's a huge, and they had an airstrip, had a village there. It was a big operation. It rivaled, like Benoit. You've heard of Benoit and all that stuff. It was a major deal, and they, but they had aid stations. I don't think they had a hospital there.
Well, when did the attack start? Daytime or night?
No, it was all night. Then that's what they're good for, at night. It was probably when everybody's sound asleep and you get woke up with, you hear zzz, and it was like singing in the air, and then they come start lobbing on you, and you could, and this place is, this thing's probably 2 or 3 miles wide, and you can't hear what's going on over there, but you could see the going through the air. Well, everybody woke up, and what they did in the base camp, they got a big bunker, like a big tunnel that right outside the bunkers. For like 3 tents goes down in that tunnel, and you go down in there. So some of them gets hurt going to that, but that's what happened.
Well, where were you when you got?
I must have been sleeping because I don't remember getting hit, but I remember our tent got hit and a couple people died. A couple people got wounded, and I guess that blast was pretty close in the area where it hit us, but it wasn't right on top of me. You know what I mean? But the blast probably got a little bumpy.
Well, how were you dressed at night? Did you sleep in your gear?
Oh, yeah, most of the time, or your skivvies,
How about your boots? You sleep with your boots on?
No, not in there. I didn't. You did in the field, but not there. That's a base camp. They got headquarters and everything there.
Mm-hmm. Well, how long did the attack last?
Probably an hour and a half. Next morning, everybody's checking. Our captain he knew we was all green. His name was Lowry, Captain Lowry. He's passed since, but he was checking on his men because he knew we was all green because we're the Delta Company in our area. Now the other companies got hit too, but they really wanted to bombard the Delta Company, of all the battalions, because they wanted to say welcome to Vietnam. That was the rumor. And he checked on, and he got wounded running around checking on his men. Okay. And his lieutenant or Captain Lowry. Good guy. Become very good friends with many of us.
Good. So that's on your third day, and you were there how long?
Probably 3 weeks.
Okay.
Well, I was there probably 3 months, but in that camp, then you go out like I showed you on that one on hellborn assaults and stuff. So you always be, but sometimes you came back more there when I was down there. But 3 months I was there. That's where I left my duffel bag.
Well, let's talk about these assignments outside the base camp. Tell me about those. Where would you go? What would be your mission? How many guys would be there?
Well, you go on what they call search and destroys. A lot of times, I know down there, there's a lot of rubber, where the Michelin rubber plantation was at. And you go on, they'd have it plotted out for you. You don't know. They say, here you go. And I had, what they did when they had when we got there, they would put a battle-hardened veteran in with all these Delta companies, and they like Charlie Company would send a guy, Alpha, to show the guys the ropes. Uh-huh. And our company, we got a guy named Mike Yorkovich, and with one of the most important jobs when you're doing search and destroy is point man. And I don't know, everybody heard about point man. They called them scouts in World War II, but some people call them point man scouts. Well, Mike Gorkovich from Marietta, Ohio, came into our platoon, a Delta company, and he interviewed or talked to the different guys and everything, and his job was to find a point man. And right away he met me because we're both Ohio boys, so that has a lot to do, good things to do, and he's up and around, he was from Bel Air, Ohio, up around Marietta and Charleston, West Virginia, up in that area. Or not Charleston, but Wheeling, West Virginia.
Yeah, Bel Air's right on the river.
Yeah,
Ohio River.
And that's where he's from. And his dad was a 173rd Airborne in World War II. But anyway, probably my closest friend, and probably saved my life more than just the way he taught me. But he picked me, and he said, "I'm going to take care of you." Man, a few words. First thing he told me, don't volunteer for a damn thing.
Okay.
But yet I'm volunteering for point man, the worst job you could have.
Well, now, did you volunteer for that? Or
He picked me.
Okay.
And he told me, he said, you know what, you don't have to fool with all that other crap. You can get out of there ahead of everybody else and do your own thing. There's a lot to being a point man, and it's a point element, by the way.
Well, I want somebody that's listening to you or watching you to understand what a point man's job is.
Okay, what a point man job is, when you go out on missions, first they call search and destroy. You're looking, and not all of them are the same. Sometimes you're going out small ones. Sometimes you're just trying to find base camps. But if you're going out, let's say company or battalion, search and destroy, you got two lines of patrolling, two flanks. And you got a point man out ahead of all of them, and it's a point element. What they have is a guy with a compass, and the guy with the compass also keeping pace count, because you didn't have all the stuff they got now. And then you usually have a radio man, keep contact with the main body, because you're out ahead of the main body by far. And
how far ahead of them are you? Are we talking about yards or miles?
No, your yards. Your yards.
More than a football field?
Probably a little more than that. Yes. Well, it's hard to say. It's all how, if it's triple canopy jungle, double count. But
hills and
let's just say a football field.
Okay.
Okay. And what you're trying to lead path, and your job is to smell, hear, look, and what he taught me, which is. He was a great point man. Charlie Company was in a lot of battles before, early on, and he did his job, and I was really lucky to have him to teach me. And the ropes, he teaches you the ropes, so to speak, stuff that they don't teach in a book. But yeah, I'd listen to the monkeys and the birds. And if we're getting into an area like that, and the monkeys are raising hell and the birds are raising hell, usually there ain't nobody ahead of you, and so you're looking for that, and you're looking for branches being broke, and you're looking for tracks. You're like tracking, and that's what you do. And it's so hard. Sometimes you're hacking. You got one hand free, and one hand machetes in there, and you're hacking, and you get wore out. Well, you have another guy you rotate with. So I call point man a point element. There's 4 of you out there.
So we got you. We got the compass guy, we got the radio man,
and I don't know what you call him, an assistant point man.
Okay.
But if you're in triple canopy, you can't do that and get anywhere and be at the top of your game.
So we'll call him a backup guy.
Yeah. And he might take the compass for a while. We all can do all of them. They've taught us all that.
All right.
And it's a group effort. By the way, I can't stress that enough, that there's no prima donnas there. Everybody's in it for the same. And
but you're saying when you're out there on your search and destroy, if you hear a lot of birds and monkeys, that means there's nobody ahead of you?
They're having fun. They're out there having fun. But now, sometimes they raise hell. You can hear like they're sitting out alert. But that's just one of the things. the biggest, another thing is you look for branches, and we never walked on paths. We always kept in the jungle. So in other words, if there's a path there and we could step over 10 feet and walk that path, we wasn't permitted to do that. We might shortly to get to another area, but we stayed off any path.
Why was that?
Because that's where they set up ambushes.
Would they have landmines?
Well, they'd have men laying. Well, they'd have mines, bungee cords. They'd have punji pits and bouncing betties. There were so many things they'd set on them things, and you'd walk right into it.
Well, describe a bungee pit for us.
Well, it was a hole with a bamboo sticking up with points, and then they had human waste on them at the point, and they'd have it covered with limbs and stuff and leaves or underbrush, and you just step in it and you're down that hole and it cuts into your leg. They had a bouncing betty. It's an explosive, like you hear about the IEDs. It's something. It's not as big as an IED, but it's something like that. It's on a tree. It's on a spring type of a device, and you bump into it. It just comes out and a lot of them kill you. And then they have claymore mines, but the claymore mines has got to usually have someone triggering it.
Okay.
And that would be an ambush. But
did you any of your point guys ever get injured from these
It was
punji pit?
Oh yeah. Now you'd hear about so and so. Yeah, he got zapped or something like that. But the most of the point man's theory or their idea was, if I do my job, that ain't going to happen, and I'm going to save everybody else. So that's one job you take very serious. Mm-hmm. A lot of people smoke weed over there. They smoke weed. Not as much as the movies portray, but there's a lot of people try to get away from missing their wives or girlfriends and everything. They relax a little bit, and you can get. It's so easy to get if you're near a base camp or something. So, but I never fooled with that because I took my job too serious, because I got 300 men behind me or something like that could walk into a major ambush.
You wanted to be as alert as you could be.
Absolutely, and you can't be anybody. I don't know if you smoke any pot, Bat.
No, never tried it. Never been tempted.
But no, it's no. I didn't fool with it. But yeah, it's a pretty important job, and what we did. You had to learn.
Did you have a weapon? You've got a machete in one hand. Do you have a weapon of any kind?
AR-15. Well, we called them M14 at the time, or M50.
And that was a rifle?
Yeah, rifle.
And how many shells were in the clip?
Well, you have 20, but we found out over there that 20 was too tight, so we put 17 in ours. And they're too tight, they jam. It was just, some guys would get by with 18, but it was around 18 to 17 in a clip.
Okay.
You put them in there in a row, and there's the idea they come up and automatically go into the rifle. Well, we just found out from OJT on the job training that they jam. So your chance of jamming is less with not put 20 in there.
Last thing you want in a firefight is your rifle to jam.
Yeah, and then also what you would do, you take like black electrical tape, if you get your hands on, or any kind of tape, you put them back and back. You tape them together with the opening this way, and then when you run out of shells, you can flip it back and stick the other end in.
Oh.
They would all be in one thing.
Okay.
And that's what, and you carried. My experience, you carried a lot of rifle oil that you could just squeeze that in. That weapon would jam a lot, and at the worst time.
How many clips would you have?
Probably some people carry 20 of them, or some, a bandolier, yeah. Mm-hmm. And some people, you can't. How can I say that? I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a long time ago. I can't remember what what they recommended or what they demanded, But I can tell you, you couldn't carry too many of them. What we did, you couldn't carry. If you could carry them, you put them in there.
Uh-huh.
And the grenades, where we would always carry grenades. And what I did with the grenades, because they had a pin in them, and you're always in the brush, and those pins, as you go through the brush, they're very easy to get a limb or something in there and pull a pin and blow you apart. And it's
Blow you up.
happened. It's happened many times.
Oh, really?
So what I did is I took me and most everybody did. They took a canteen cover that goes on your canteen. It's got the snaps on it, and they put 4. You can squeeze 5 grenades in there. Snap them. They're never going to do it. The only problem you're going in and out of water a lot, and I can't believe I'm remembering all this. And the only problem you don't look at them all day because they're all hid. They're in that we're lazy as a group of people. I ain't going to look at that. And sometimes they rust. Sometimes you don't use them for so long, they rust, and a pin would come loose and it'd be in there because it's not getting air to it. You know what I mean? And that could cause it to I don't know if it would. I don't know really how it was. They blamed it on rust or water or something, but it's like people have put on, they call their strike gear. This is what you wear on your, this ain't the pack. You're not wearing a pack then. You're wearing strike gear. And people have, I remember one guy, we was at a place called NK, and he says, saddle up is mean, get your strike gear on. We're going out on patrol. And the platoon sergeant stuck his on and blew him. His head rolled right by me. His grenades went off. And, he put them in. And the theory was what the rumor is, he didn't check his grenades. He didn't keep an eye on his grenades. And the same way with your ammo, if you're in the swamps, you got to clean that ammo up and stuff. It's like changing oil in your car or something. That's stuff you use to survive. But that's why that's what you talk to anybody who's done this. They probably, a lot of them carried their grenades in that canteen.
Canteen pouch.
Yeah, some of them hang them on their. It looks good for a picture. Some of them hang them on their gear. Them straps, and it's easy to get them.
Yeah, yeah. But it's also can get caught by a branch.
Yeah, but you got to put them somewhere.
Yeah.
You're going to carry them. You ain't going to turn them down. And then, you said the fourth guy. There also might be with that fourth guy on that changing subject here. The point might be a grenade launcher guy too, with a grenade launcher.
Okay.
They use them a lot. M57 grenade launcher.
Okay.
And you get pinned down. That's a very good weapon. Instead of throwing them, you're launching them with a grenade launcher. And sometimes you're on, this is where you're going on a multi-man mission, or if you're on a mission just for looking for base camps or something, it's different. There's a lot of different scenarios. If you're on ambush patrol, it's a lot of different things you do. You go on ambush, you go out at dark and come in at dark.
Now, when you're on ambush patrol, are you looking for an ambush or are you setting up an ambush?
Setting up an ambush.
And these ambushes, are they set up on trails?
Yes, that's the only time you're near a trail, according to the 1st Division. That's the only time you want to mess with a trail, or you're setting up an ambush on a trail. Sometimes you're on an ambush and there's 2 trails, and there have been times when the gooks or the enemy walked in front of you and behind you, and you'd be in between. You lay there like a church mouse because but most of the time and at night you just have heavy probes of the enemy probing a night defensive position. But it's and you sit out there all night. You put your claymore mines out. You take turns sleeping. You
describe a claymore for us.
Well, it's about 10 inches.
About the
wide.
size of a dinner plate?
Yeah, it's about 10 inches, about 8 by 10 inches, and it's like a bowl, and it's thousands and thousands of BBs in it, and then all the rest of it is a compound plus dynamite. And then you got an electronic device that, and a cord, and of course now I'm sure they're remote or no cord, but back when I was there it was a cord, and when the biggest part of the enemy patrol is coming by, you blow it and you get the maximum amount of kill.
Mm-hmm.
And you also got, there's a back plate, so you got to watch that. There you go back to watching the grenades. It's the same thing. There's a back, you can get some back pressure from them. It can hurt you if you know. And so you try to put them in maybe whether a log or something behind them, a little something to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it ain't real bad, but you can get hurt from the back thing on it. If you're in front of it, you're going to be mangled.
So the enemy had claymores.
Oh yeah, they had
Did
claymores.
they have devices that would be set up by tripwires?
They could do that. We could do the same thing. Yeah, they could do that. It's like almost like a grenade. They could do that, but primarily what we did, they could be on a limb or something like that.
What? When you're out there on point, do you have the starlight scope?
At times. When I was there, that was so new that it was like you signed your life away I'll destroy that, so you didn't give it to the enemy if you got overran or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I remember about them, they was real cautious about who got the starlight scope, and sometimes you're in the jungle so deep that it's ineffective because the starlight don't. If I remember, I've used them, but I didn't use them a lot. I've used them an awful lot. I've used them, but and you just see an image. They have infrared on tanks forever.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference with that is if a tank's looking at you through infrared, and the tanker's in the back looking at it, he can see the glow of the infrared, and the enemy can see it. Where a starlight scope, they have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea. There's nothing in the front of it.
No reflection.
Yeah, right. And that was the biggest thing. And of course, it's an infrared thing. It's a big screen, like a computer screen. It's on the front of a tank, and that's the way I remember it.
Well, how long would you be out away from base camp on these search and destroy missions?
3 months, 4 months.
And
2 months.
While you're out there all this time, tell me about how you were resupplied for food and ammunition.
Choppers come out when they can get to you. They bring you, they got big Mermite cans, and they'll have hot food, or you carry a lot of sea rations. Or they'll even resupply you with sea rations because they may not be able to get back out to you. And you're moving all the time too. Most of the time when you set up a night defensive position, that's what the NDP they call it.
Uh-huh.
In the 1st Division, I think most all of them follow the same suit. When you get into an area and you're going to be operating there a few days, you dig a hole. You dig a hole, you fill sandbags, you put logs across the top, cut some trees, and you make bunkers, and you put a perimeter, and it's called night defensive position. And you don't go to bed till you're done with it. And sometimes you're digging in rock and everything else, and it's not easy. But that's and you may be there a week. That becomes your base camp, theoretically. You may be there a little longer, maybe a little less. The one where I got wounded was we was there 3 days, and we almost got overran. But yeah, we was there 3 days, and we was out there for a blocking force to a bigger group that was up there in an airport that we knew that they was going to try to attack. Hey, you're pretty busy. You can see that.
What size trees are you cutting down to put over your bunker?
Probably 6-8 inch trees. And
Are you cutting them with your machete, or do you chainsaws?
yeah, or they may have a chainsaw out there. They got headquarters. Sometimes they got headquarters that comes out in a chopper or something like that. But most of the times it's machete, and yeah. So it's just something to hold the sandbags together. You know, they're probably. If you get 4 guys down in there, you're on top of each other, and you got firing ports. You know, on each side at a 45, a firing port. So ideally, 2 men are down there, and then they build a perimeter, probably 3 sandbags high, in the back where 2 men are sleeping. So that's how they're designed. So it's really made for 2 men, and
What do you got? 2 hours on, 2 hours off, or 4 hours off?
Yeah. So probably 3 or 4 hours. I don't remember, but they got 2 ports, and the back is usually got 2 ponchos put together for like a tent, and you can get out if it's raining. If you're the guys that's sleeping. This is in a night defensive position. This is not an ambush, and you're dry, so you can get some sleep, and that's got like at least 2 sandbags, preferably 3 or 4, around where when you start getting hit, or if you do get hit, that then will come over on you.
Do you have, when you had these night defensive positions, did you have any concertina wire around the perimeter?
If you could get it out, I could get into that story when we get into this movie, but. The night that the first time I got wounded was we got in late, and we dug in, and we're always sending out probes to see if anybody's watching us, and you know, but majority of the guys are digging holes, and they're getting ready for the setup night defensive position, and we got there so late, and there was so much canopy that. I guess they dropped some napalm in there or something to burn it out. They knew we was going to. There were 3 companies here, so it would look like it was all hell. They may have dropped Agent Orange. You didn't know what they did, but it was all dead. And they didn't have it. You know, they didn't have it. They didn't have a real good place to set up because it was right in the middle of the triple canopy. It was a blocking force in a triple canopy vegetation. So we was getting set up, and they knew we was going to get into. They call it getting in the shit. We didn't get no concertina wire out until after dark. It was dark before we put it out, and it's got cans on it, and they come with some cans on it, and then you put more cans on it, like because they did give you some beer at night when they brought the choppers out for the food and everything. You got two beers a day, but anyway, we're digging in, and I told you the story about the machine gun on top of the bunker.
Well, you told us before the interview.
Yeah. Well, our deal was and then they said, well, okay, you're digging them things. You're getting it. Sometimes they would bring out stuff from a chopper. You're going back to that. You asked how big of a
base camp.
Well, how big of a log would you cut?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they bring out iron like big fence posts too. They bring them out and drop them off, and you'd use them, especially if you're going to be there a while. But anyway, so you get these all dug up. You're all set up. You're setting up it's a mini base camp. What it is, it's a night defensive position, and it takes. Sometimes it's morning. You're still working on it, and it's so when we got in there, that was the first night. They brought a 50 caliber out for some additional support because they did have there's a good strong possibility we'd be attacked where we was at and everything. And they brought a 50 caliber out, and they they lowered it on just happened to lower it on our bunker, because I knew how to. I was there's that thing in there. You see,
You knew how to operate the 50.
yeah, because I knew how to operate the 50. Probably seen that. He was looking for that thing I wrote in. Yeah, right there it is. And I couldn't. Anyway, so I knew how to set the headspace on and zero in that 50 to do that. A lot of people wouldn't. Not a lot of people, but there wasn't a lot of people that was certified on a 50. And there's a lot to it.
Well, who was with you on the 50? Did you have an ammunition guy?
Yeah, Frank. Well, both. You do both. He does it. You do it. You get tired. You got an ammo barrier, and then you got gunner, or he take turns. It's a lot of work, and so they loaded on my bunker, and me and a guy named Frank Shoecanes from Texas, he was our squad leader, and him and I, we set it up, and we're aiming to the wood line or something like that, and every third round's a tracer. It's red. And I remember either he said or I said it. You know, Charlie's sitting there watching where this is going, where this is coming from, because that's the biggest weapon we had, light weapon we had. We had a Hallister out there. They brought a Hallister out there too, in the middle of the camp.
Uh-huh.
And but you know, that's a tank, and I mean artillery.
Uh-huh.
They brought that out too.
What was that? A 105?
105, yeah. And so they knew we was good. I mean, this was probably more than normal what we seen coming out there for firepower. We knew we was going to get in some stuff, and but anyway, we got it all set up, and it's so there's two guys in a bunker, me and Frank on the 50. Me and Frank was sleeping before when the attack started, so we jumped up on the 50, and I don't know if he was on or I was on or whatever, but we was.
You were on top of the bunker.
Yeah, on top of the bunker, and we took a direct hit, and
from a mortar.
RPG, yeah, rocket propelled grenade, and it peppers your body with shrapnel. This one did. Shrapnel, and even if it didn't, it hits a sandbag, and the sand goes into you too, because it's a hell of a blast. Mm-hmm. But they was aiming at that 50, and what they get into the concertina wire. When we got done, we went out there and put that around after dark. They had no idea what we're doing out there. So when they tried to overrun us, they had no idea that concertina wire was there. Okay. So had we not had that out there, we probably would have got overran, because they got all tied up in that stuff. And their earlier probe showed there wasn't none. Uh-huh. But because we went out there, it was late, and I mean we just got, it was way things go. So I can remember it like it was yesterday. We got hit, and Frank he just started his every orifice in his body was bleeding from the concussion of it. His ears, his eyes, and everything. He was like sort of went a little bit funky, and I was the same way. We both took a direct hit, right at the edge of the bunker and that area behind there, and took a direct hit. And if the shrapnel didn't get you, the concussion got you. Mm-hmm. And so and the worst thing about me was I got a piece of my ear, a piece of shrapnel in my ear. The rest of it they could dig out in the field, and they dusted him off, and they treated him, but they thought he needed more immediate attention, and they did me too. And I said, and to be totally honest with you, I had an R&R coming up in 2 or 3 days, and I didn't want to miss out. Yeah. And I said, no, you got some cotton, you got something for pain, I'll take that if it's okay. I said, I can live with what I got. And
you stayed there at the camp.
Yeah, and I later on when I went to Hong Kong on R&R, my ear started bleeding real bad, And that's when I realized there was a piece of shrapnel in there. I thought it was just part of the ringing and all that, and there was something in there, and it started bleeding.
Well, how long did that attack last, the night that you got injured?
You know, it happened so quick. I would say, maybe in this tape you'll see it, but that was after the battle. We
15, 20 minutes?
Oh no, a lot longer than that. It was hours.
Hours.
Yeah, it was hour and a half.
Did anybody get inside the concertina wire?
We got right up to it. We had outpost. When we set up like that, we got 3 guys going all around the thing, and they're called outposts, listening posts. They sat there, no cover, nothing like that, and they listened for an early warning system. We had a guy got his throat cut, and we had 3. Our area had 3. There was, I think we had 12 guys got killed in
this attack.
In that attack, and somebody wounded, and they'll tell you, and we killed 48 that they counted.
What, how many were in your unit at that base, at that camp? How many guys were camped there?
600.
God.
There was 3 companies.
So,
Charlie, Delta, and Alpha. There was 3. It could have been 4, but they had 3 companies, and then they had they also had a artillery group, because they had a Howitzer. I'd say 500-600 people.
okay. So the next morning, well, before that, the enemy gets caught up in the concertina wire. Now, are these the NVA or these VC?
These are guys with the stars in their hat. These are the 271st. They said it was a 271st VC regiment. It's a regiment, and they
VC or NK?
Well, we just called her by VC, but NVA. They was NVA.
Yeah.
They was regularly trained NVA soldiers. That's all. Now you got to remember, we maybe back up a little bit. Our base camp was at Quan Loy then. We moved from Phuc Vinh to Quan Loy. So when we moved to Quan Loy, that's about all we seen was NVA. When we was at Phuc Vinh, we fought what we called Old Charlie. And it didn't matter if you was up there or not, you still called him Old Charlie. That's just what you did. But our base camp was when we went to Quan Loy, we was almost in Cambodia. We was a stone thrown away from Cambodia. So that's I didn't have that in there.
So during this battle, did you have any kind of illumination?
Oh, you're sending up, they're sending it up all the time. It's
what are you sending up?
Flares, they're being shot up regularly,
Okay.
and of course we didn't get no planes in because it was at night.
Too much canopy.
Yeah, too much canopy, and but we had that Howitzer, and they had some other issue. They have, you got.
Mortars?
Yeah, you got mortar. You have a mortar squad. They're setting up these, and they light it up like a football field. You can see them.
You can see them, but they can see you too.
Yeah, they can see us too. But we could see them out there. I mean, I can tell you it was the scariest I've ever been in my life. I didn't think I'd want to live.
Mm-hmm. So next morning, what goes on then? You're there for 3 more days?
Yeah, and we went, what we did was, like I said, I told them I refused, and they usually wouldn't let you do it. They must pretty well thought, I've been over there, let's see, I got over there, I've been over 6 or 7 months, so I was pretty hardcore by that time. And knew the ropes, so they probably figured I knew what I wanted, and I didn't. And they didn't make me go. They call it a dust off when they take a medical chopper out, and I didn't go on a dust off. So like I said, I wanted to go to Hong Kong. I wanted to get out of that. Every day you're not out of there, the day you're not going to get killed, and But okay, so the next day what you do, you get up, we assessed I think in that tape I got it shows our bunker, but it was halfway, caved in. But we start going out and picking up bodies because of sanitation. You don't want to smell that, and they brought out a big rope sling like you see like in shipyards where they unload stuff in a rope sling. Well, they brought the rope sling in a chopper, dropped it, and that was where the bodies was going to go, so they could take them and bury them. And
now we're talking about our men.
No, they're men.
Talking about
they're men.
Okay.
You don't want to smell that. You're going to be there 3 days.
Well, how'd they get rid of the fatalities for our guys?
That went on the dust off. That one.
What kind of helicopters came into?
Them would be Hueys made just for medical.
Okay.
And they'd have gunners on them and everything like that.
Did you ever see one of those helicopters shot down?
Oh, yeah. I've been hitting them when we're landing and stuff. Never way up in the air, but a lot of times. I mean, we was in the 1st Division. We did a lot of fighting. That's the biggest outfit the Army's got.
So you had a lot of instances where you were inserted by helicopters?
Oh, most, yeah.
And did the helicopter land on the ground, or did they hover above the ground and you had to jump out?
Well, it's all how much stuff was there. They punched the bottom of the chopper. Most of the time you jumped, but if you was lucky, you could step out. There have been times they came in and they assessed the terrain and it wasn't good, and they dropped ropes and you slide down the ropes, put it in your D-ring, slide down the ropes, or climb down the ropes because a lot of times they're shooting at you, and what they call hot LZ.
LZ means?
Landing zone.
Okay.
And when it's a hot LZ, that means they're in the perimeter shooting at you when you come in. And
so were you in a helicopter when you were taking fire in the helicopter?
Oh, absolutely. Many times.
Did you ever get hit by shell?
No. The chopper has. You can hear them ding, ding, ding. And those guys are phenomenal.
The pilots?
The whole crew, phenomenal.
So what did they have on the helicopter? They had a pilot, a co-pilot, and a gunner?
Two gunners. Gunner on each side, 60s. On the Hueys, what we took. Our company was the only, our division was the only one that lost a general in Vietnam, General Ware, and he got shot down in a helicopter. General Ware, he was a 3-star general. Only of all that 58,225 people that died over there, one general. Think about that. So we was in the shit.
Well, how many guys would that Huey hold?
About 7. They cram them in there, they worry about the weight and everything, but, your full packs or not packed. A lot of times when you went out on them things, they'd pick you up somewhere and drop you off somewhere else, and you just have your strike gear, and you try to get back that night defensive because you got more stuff there, but that strike gear, you travel light. No, normally you walk back and do it because you're trying to travel light.
Well, when they resupplied you with ammunition or food or whatever, were those Hueys or were they Chinooks?
Hueys, and they would set up the Mermite cans, and they'd send you out ice, they'd send you out letters. It was. They did them. Those people, anybody that did anything similar to what I did over there, they loved the helicopters. And those gunships, you'd watch them guys out from a distance when they're hitting them, trying to hit the enemy. They're softening the field for you because you're going to go there the next day. And you're watching this like a big show, like a 4th of July fireworks.
Were those the Cobra gunships?
Some of them are Hueys, but a lot of Cobras. They got them the Gatling guns on the front.
Yeah, Gatling guns and rockets.
Yeah, rockets.
They were.
It's a show to watch, and then you come with the Phantom jets, the napalm and everything. Sometimes you're watching that stuff, and you know where you're going to go the next day. That's where you're going to be patrolling. And sometimes there's a patrol out there, and they're calling that shit in.
but the enemy has so many spider holes and tunnels.
Yeah.
A lot of times that firepower didn't even affect them.
Well, it took a step or two out of them. Yeah, you're right. You're 100%. They was good. Old Charlie was. He was good. He you know, the French was over 20 years before us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they even had their own language, French Vietnamese they called it, and you know, a lot of them, especially when I first came in, were the rubber plantation. That Michelin was French, and that was a lot of them speak French because they've been there so long. So they did all that in anticipation of trying to take that country back, and that's.
I'm trying to remember if I read this about you or another fellow that was standing there and one of your buddies shot at your feet. Shot at your feet, or if it wasn't you, it was somebody else. Shot at this guy's feet, and he had seen a rifle coming out of a spidey hole and killed that enemy.
I didn't tell that story, but I'm sure it's happened. Yeah, you went down in them holes. And by the way, the tunnel rats did a good job too.
Well, I've interviewed a couple of those guys.
Yeah, and now what way we would do it, we'd find them holes and we'd see what kind of it was. I mean, you become a tunnel rat when you found the holes, because there's no tunnel rat patrolling with you unless not our outfit. And what you do, you call in after you secure. I don't know if it's secured or you get it. You see it needs to have more eyes on it. You call the engineering, and these guys are a part of the engineering, and they'll bring out the tunnel rats, and then they'll go through there and they'll check that thing out. They got everything, but initially you go down there and say, what have I got here? And you go down with a flashlight. Sometimes you put a bayonet in your mouth, or 45, because you can't take a rifle down there. You know what I mean? Or you could, but if you knew how big it's going to open up that. And you see what's going on, try to assess how many are they, what's going on, and then you tell your guy and your superior, and he calls it in and says, we need a group to come out to do these tunnel search, and they do their job. They know what they're doing, and they find a lot of stuff out. They got hospitals and everything else underneath.
Oh yeah, like a little city sometimes.
It's a team approach. Like where we was out there, I told you the field of fire was almost zero. That next day, you said, well, what happens the next day? Well, the next day they brought out engineers, and they took flamethrowers, and they cleared the field of fire with flamethrowers because they knew we'd stand there longer.
Okay.
That was the first night we went in. I mean, you was almost in the forest when you're dug in, and that's not ideal. And so they cleared the field of fire a little bit, and then they'll bring out a little dozer and a chopper. It's a joint effort, and it was so funny because when we got hit, there's a friend of mine named Bob Smith. I don't know if you've ever interviewed him or knew him, but he was a commander of the VFW Mason. That was one of the guys I was supposed to go in with.
Okay.
Well, he went in later. It's a good story. He went in later, and he ended up in the 1st Division. Tunnel rat. He's a littler guy, and he was a tunnel rat. And I think we ran into each other one time, and when I was in Like Hay. He was in 1st Division, but he was at Like Hay. And I was in Like Hay overnight trying to catch a trip around. Anyway, but he did his job, I did my job, big operation, everything. And well, he comes out there with he's a tunnel rat and also an engineer. They ain't got tunnels to do all the time. They know how to run them dozers and everything. Well, they come out there it wasn't tunnels, but to clear that field of fire. And he says, any of you guys know Ron Pennington? He knew the black scarf because he knew I was in the black scarf, and we was the only ones who wore the black scarves.
Well, we haven't talked about it. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Well, I had a black scarf, and he said he knew where he was at, and the choppers brought him out, and he said, yeah, he died last night. It says, what? So yeah, because I told you we
Because
had.
you got hit.
Yeah, well, and then there was a guy that got killed in front of us. He was a black. We was all black scarves, and everybody there was a black scarf in that NDP, and they said that was his bunker right there, and he looked over at it and says, "You got to be kidding me!" He said, "No, I think he died." He said, "I know he got hit, and I know another got shoe cane, and he asked around. Of course, he had to do his job, but." So he calls his mom or writes his mom and said, I think Ron got killed last night. His mom called my mom. They lived in the same, we was all raised under the shadow of the WLW tire here in Mason. And his mom called my mom and told her the story to hear about Ron. And of course, I was in some real patrolling and stuff. I wasn't riding as much at that time. And why, you can imagine that maybe when she sold the Corvette, I don't know, but I don't, I laugh about it now, but that's how it went, and we had a few beers and talked about that over the years. He died, he's passed now, but yeah, we grew up together, went through all the way through school together, and he, I mean, it was devastating to him to hear that. And, happy
to hear when he found out you were still living.
Actually, it's funny. I was at Pulte Chevrolet in Lebanon. I'm getting my car service, and she says, "Ron Pennington," and the lady there, and I thought I recognized her, and she says, have I heard some stories about you? And I says, I hope they're good. It was just here a year or so ago. Matter of fact, I hooked her up with John Looker. She needs some benefits from his. Mm-hmm. And she says, I'm so-and-so, and I married to Bobby Smith. And I says, we got a divorce, but we was married for so many years. And I said, what you're asking me, I can't tell you, but I can sure introduce you to the right guy. And I introduced you to John Looker, and she takes the money there. Black-haired gal, I can't remember her name. You know how that goes. But
did you ever get down into a tunnel yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
How tall were you, and how much did you weigh at the time?
Probably weighed 160 pounds at the time, and probably five. I thought I was 5'11". I went to a doctor the other day. He says I'm 5'9" or something like that. So I've lost 2 inches, or they measured me wrong somewhere. But I'm 5'9", I guess.
Well, where was this tunnel? Was this in the side of a hill, or was this in a flat area?
On a flat area. You go down in, and what you do, you get that flashlight, and sometimes you got to have these 2 hands in front of you. You got to have that flashlight and a gun or a knife or something in front of you, and you go down there and you try to see as far. What I tried to do is see as far as I could see without going in as far as they wanted me to. They didn't know, and if I won, and I'd say it's clear, and I'd lob a grenade in there or some kind of a canister that runs them out. And they usually.
But before you go in there, you throw.
Sometimes, but most of the time you go in real slow and be ready, and because you got to go in there, or if you ain't got that kind of time to wait, So in other words, for that to clear, you got to be there longer, and you
is there anything? Is there a rope or anything tied to you that can haul you out, or do you have to crawl back out?
You just welcome to Vietnam. You got to learn to crawl backwards.
Crawl in and crawl out. No. Oh man.
Well, I didn't have no rope.
Yeah.
Where we was at when we was at Quan Loy, I could. That was where a lot of them talk about all the tunnels over there. That's where the Ho Chi Minh Trail. That's where they geared for to get the resupply and everything down there. That's where War Zone C and War Zone D. That's what was happening. That they had come down through Laos and Cambodia, and that was their that was where they went in. They didn't go down through the middle of the country. Some did. I'm not saying they didn't go down, but I'm just saying that they went down. If you're not bombing the Cambodia or Laos, they can fool around all they want until the time's clear, and then go in there. Can you imagine the years it took them to dig all them things?
Oh wow, yeah. Well, it's like the Japanese in World War II.
Yeah.
and all their tunnels and stuff. But
And you wouldn't even know it. I've walked into base camps that had tunnels that I didn't even know it, and maybe take a little break and look over and says, what the hell's that? They'd have it so camouflaged that I mean, they're humans, so if you got enough time in an area, you're going to see everything you're there. But when you're patrolling, you're just keep going, and sometimes you probably would have never seen it if you didn't stop and smoke a cigarette or something. You know, I think everybody smoked over there. They gave you cigarettes over there. The 1st Division did. So I smoked over there and quit when I come home.
Now these spider holes, what was that? Just a hole in the ground covered up?
I really never dealt with it. I've heard a lot about them in different areas, but I never really. I've seen them, but they wasn't as in the area I was at. There wasn't as prevalent as other people. I've seen these interviews and stuff. They was doing a different kind of fighting. A lot of tunnels. But you know, I'm sure there's spider holes. I just didn't come across them myself much.
Did you have any situations where you guys were out on your mission and you bypassed the enemy and they caught you from behind?
Yeah, well, that would be in the ambush. I was telling you that sometimes you have to put a back one in there because they come in behind you, you know, and you would have no way to escape. You got your claymores out here, but they come in this way, so you have to at least, you know, say you got 6-man ambush patrol, you have to put at least 2 claymores in the back so you can escape. You know, blow it and escape. You know, I didn't tell you when we talked about getting wounded, but maybe because my mind's thinking about this. I didn't. I stayed up there at that base camp, and then I went up to that airstrip. I told you we was a blocking force for Sung Bay airstrip, but then I went to Hong Kong, and my ear got, you know. Then I had to come back, and they sent me to the 25th Field Evac. They had to make a little tool to get in there and take that shrapnel out. And they did it, and then they said, well, you got the what they call a golden wound. You're going to be out of the. So what's your job? I said, I'm a point man. I said, I can do a lot of things, but I'm primarily the point man. And they said, well, you're going to love this. We're giving you a profile. Point man's got to hear. They got to see, and they said, we're going to give you a profile. And they were going to take you out of the field. I said, thank you. And they...
so you had $1 million wound?
That's what I was trying to think of. And it was that little thing, and all the other stuff, you know, the scars and all that other stuff, that little in it, I lost part of my hearing. And so what they did, they took me out. So I went back to the base camp. And now you got to remember, when you're flying around Vietnam, you're catching choppers at different places. You're hopscotch around. That's the only way you travel over there. You don't drive around there. And so I went to Benoit, 25th Field Evac. They took it out, kept me a few days. Then I went to Xi'an. That was another 1st Division place. Started catching a plane to go different places. And went back to Quan Loy, first sergeant. You know, I said, when am I going to get my stripes? And he goes, I'll let you know that. And I didn't get along with him. And so I went back there and read a book and got in the, you know, that's where the barracks, not barracks, but tents and stuff are. And I'm going to lay around. And he says, you ain't going to do this, you know. And I, what do you mean? He says, I got a job for you. Well, I started taking prisoners to LBJ, escorting them. Well, most of the time, I'm taking them down there as an escort. I drank with them the whole time. We're partying. They're my buddies. I've been fighting with them. They've done something wrong, and they're just, you know, and we all know each other. And that was fun. I did that for a while.
Where was LBJ?
Long Bend Jail. That was in Long Bend.
Long Bend Jail?
Yeah, LBJ. And I would escort them down. I'd have a pistol, and most of the time they were looking. I mean, they wasn't no hardened criminal. They got drunk and probably knocked an officer in the head or something. Got, you know, it just happens. And but anyway, I did that for a while. I can remember. Actually, I got in contact with one that lived in Lenore City, Tennessee, that I took down there that was my unit and talked to him. He was a Baptist minister. I called him when Don and I was going to Florida one time. But anyway, so yeah, Gary Packett was his name. Gary Packett worked for the TVA.
Well, you mentioned that when you were out for long periods of time, you wouldn't be writing home. Did you and Donna correspond with each other?
Every day. She wrote me every day. Sometimes I get 10 letters, but there wasn't a day she didn't write. Sometimes she sent me a postcard. Or sometimes she would, I would buy her a sexy negligee, one of them places I got in a base camp center. She'd model it for me or something, you know. Yeah, she's quite the woman, and better than anybody I ever deserved. And, anyway, this is fun. I'm having fun now. I'm relaxed. But well, anyway, the deal on that, I was going to tell you. So then they that first sergeant, he says he didn't have no prisoners or nothing, and he says, well, I got you a job. They're running up this 13. Everybody called it the Thunder Road. You know, is where they got in the convoys going north. So I need you to ride shotgun in the convoy. I want you to report down to First S&T. That's another village real far away. Zion, I showed you on the map where it's right down there close to Saigon, and that's the 1st Division headquarters. Never been there before. Well, yeah, I did. I was there when I came back from get my ear operated on. I had to catch a chopper there, but other than that, I'd never been there. But that's where all the headquarters for the 1st Division. It's a big town. And you're going to go down there, report to this guy, and you're going to be their security on the
Thunder Road.
Thunder Road, but you're going to be for the wrecker. Like when they run over landmines, somebody's got to secure that. That's what you're going to do. And I says, great. I said, great. And I says, I went down there, and it was like I died and went to hell. I didn't have long left, you know. And by when you get to that age, you're saying you call yourself a short timer. You know, I'm going to go home, you know. So you'll milk every bit of it out. So I went down there, and I rode in the convoy, and the wrecker. The guy was driving. His name was Alabama. That's all I remember. And we run up through all them little villages all the way, and carry sea rations and candy to give the kids. And some of them guys, they were sick. They throw rocks at them when they come up there and everything. They could learn to not like even the Vietnamese, because they think everybody's a Viet Cong. But I didn't have that kind of heart. I couldn't do that.
Did you on your mission? Did you go into villages?
Oh yeah, we went. Well, what are you talking about? You mean like patrolling?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We even went into mountain yard villages. They did a lot of, the Army would do a lot, like the mountain yards. I don't know if you ever heard of them. But
I thought they were the good guys for us.
Yeah, but we go in and they were so primitive. They still carried bows, and they had bones in their nose and run around. We go in there and take care of their sick kids and stuff, and they'd have to have security with them. So sometimes I'd look out and get that, and that's what I say. You do a lot of different things, and I go in with the doctors and the patrol, and the little kids had malnutrition and and treat them, and if we're just going to be there a while, it's a mountain yard village. They were supposed to be neutral, but they were our friends, right?
They treated you good.
Oh yeah, I mean they was like National Geographic. You read, see them people, and they was scared of you, real backward and all that stuff. But they learned to trust you. But they had crossbows, they had bones in their nose, and a lot of them lived in caves. And it's sorry.
How about the Vietnamese villages? Did you go in there and ever get trapped in there by any enemies?
No, I don't remember none of that. Maybe, well, we do road clearing operations, and we probably, I can't remember right off, but I'm sure that happened sometimes we do road clearing operations. They say, hey, this platoon's going to do road clearing. So you'd be on Thunder Road and you clear the road of any landmines and everything. And once you got done, he had to wait for the convoy to go by.
Yeah.
And you'd be out there, and sometimes you would patrol some of them villages, because people that worked in them rubber plants, they lived in them little villages. And there's times that, and then you go ahead, make sure, check, make sure everything's okay. Check, they had to carry credentials. Everybody over there, if they was working, they had to show who they are. And you check them, and then you go in there and poke around and see if they had any false doors or anything like that. But they hidden any. Charlie was hiding mortars or ammo or food, or we found caches of rice in some places. But as far as being pinned down by no. Most of the time it was out in the jungles on patrol. And a lot of times it was night.
How many times did you go up Thunder Road?
Probably 5 or 6.
Have any memorable experiences?
Yeah, we had. Yeah, I got wounded. Again. That was the second one, April 4th. And I was ready to go back and walk point. They had me cleared and said, "You're ready to go, and everything's good. Your hearing's coming back. You seem like you're going to give it another couple of weeks and then report back, and we'll clear you." And then I go back to they had regular barracks down there in Zion, and I went back, and it was probably a month and a half before I came home. All of a sudden I heard whistling. And you're an infantry soldier, you know exactly what that is. I said, "Incoming," and I got up and yelled, "Incoming, incoming," and one of them guys yelled, "That's that damn infantry guy, he drunk or he having a nightmare or something." And we got direct hit, and I got hit in the back, and
shrapnel again?
Yeah, big piece, and hit my lung and hit my rib, I was yelling as we ran through the hooch, yelling at them, shaking the beds, and they was getting up, and some of them, go, everybody's at sound sleep. Never that camp, they'd never seen nothing at the camp. Now convoys they do. Then the convoys, that's what they're doing. They're trying to take your what you got, but that camp never had that, and went down there, and then after it all slowed down, somebody said, "You got blood pumping out of your back." And I says, "What do you mean?" I didn't even feel it, didn't even know it. The adrenaline, and they took me to the aid station, and I didn't have to go to. I stayed there, and I got out there actually. But I was in the scars, but I was attached to them. I was on loan.
Well, I want to talk to you about the black scars, but before I want to get your dates when you got into Nam and when you left Nam.
Well, I left for Nam in May on that ship.
Yeah, but that was 22-day trip.
Yeah, so let's just say June, and left in let's see,
June of.
Wait a minute. I know 67? I got home. Wait a minute. I know I got home. I got home July. I got home July. I just have to be close. July 10th. So go back a year. July 10th to the July 10th.
So
67 to July 10th, 68.
We're talking about June of 1967 to July of 68.
Yeah.
And you left there before the Tet Offensive. Or did they have one?
No, they had it. They had it there. Yeah.
They had a Tet Offensive in the fall of 67?
Yeah, 68. Wasn't it early? Yeah.
Wasn't that around January, February?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it was their New Year's. I don't remember it being like I read it over here. I mean, I wasn't in Saigon. Oh, that's where they came from. They came down through there. I'm sure we fought some of the people there, but no, I wasn't in Saigon. That's where the biggest thing. I wasn't even near there. I was
Well, they had a coordinated attack all over the
Yeah,
country.
right, yeah.
Okay, let's
but you-
talk about these black scarves that you mentioned, and I saw it in your article in the Mason paper. But let's talk about who were the black scarves, how many black scarves were there, and why was it?
Well, it was the whole battalion. What they did, they had before I got over there, they'd find caches of weapons, food, and different things. Well, this one particular thing, they found also all kinds of, what do they call it, when they get them rolls of clothing, or they call it something, but a bunch of cloths.
Mm-hmm.
They found a bunch of cloths. Just astronomical black cloths that they made their pajamas out of. This is the VC now, you gotta
Okay.
remember. This is not the NBA. So the VC, they found them hidden. They bury shit. They bury stuff under, and they found them. And the Perlman was the battalion commander, and he thought, you know what, these guys, I got by the way, I got a poem about them, and they got a. He said, I'm going to have these all made into scarves, and distinguish our company, because we were sort of a strike force type of guys. So they knew they called us when they really needed something done quick. And this is how the story goes. I actually just seen it. I told you when I found that 1st Division thing, I found out stuff I didn't even know. But I was telling you, I was looking at YouTube the other day.
Well,
but
who was your commander again?
Well, this was the Perlman, but
Perlman?
he was not my. He was the first. I had a different one. This
He's the one that decided.
Yeah,
to make
and they made them scarves, and they would different colors for different companies. Alpha Company would be red, Charlie Company would be yellow, or Bravo Company would be blue, and Delta was green. And I was in Delta. And that was all, got all these companies and everything, and you all wore black scarf, and it was going to be mandatory. And so they had them designed. They had the Vietnamese people sew them nice, and where they looked nice. And I mean, it wasn't just a rag around your neck. And because everybody was always wearing towels and stuff, and it's sometimes it's 120 degrees over there, and
Well, besides, what was the designation? What was the group that was
the
called
one half
Black
on the
Star?
side, first Battalion, 2nd Infantry of the 1st Infantry Division.
Oh.
So they all had a one half on it. I'll show it to you.
1st Battalion of what?
Can you pause a minute? Or
Okay.
okay, talking about the black scarf. Here's one of them I brought home. I brought 2 home. I brought a brand new one and this one. We were speaking about. That's what they look like. This one was green for the Delta, 1st and 2nd, and the rumor was they had a bounty that their command would pay them if they killed any of us and brought in the scarf we was wearing. But that's it. And there's actually a poem they wrote about us, and it was. We was a crackpot outfit. We was sort of similar. They do. I guess these commanders do that stuff to get a, to signify your outfit different from somebody else. And if you wanted to hear that poem, I could read it real quick, or you could, or would you want to hear it?
Pardon?
The poem about the black scarf. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah. Black Scarf Battalion, 2nd Infantry Division, 1st Infantry Division, Phuc Vinh, Phouc Vinh, Vietnam.
Okay, there's a Black Scarf Battalion in Vietnam, and it's this battalion, every man is a man. Around their neck, the black scarfs they wear, a symbol of strength of those who dare. Our fathers would be proud of this generation, for they are a product of a great land and nation. They have fought and they have won. They will stay until the battle is done. Their leaders are proud of their impossible task, none to be told, none to be asked. No one can see the misery they bear, for it's all hidden beneath the scarves they wear. They surely have answered freedom's call, for there are many a black scarf hanging from the wall. Some are tattered, some are torn, willed to some still unborn. They want no fame, no fanfare or glory. Their mission is as old as the infantry story. Perhaps someday history will record, and the Black Scarf Battalion shall have its reward. The big 1/2 on these scarves they wear is the battalion symbol, the symbol they bear. Someday the whole story will be, the Black Scarf will be known. As for me, I know it. I have one of my own.
Do you know who did that poem?
It's Staff Sergeant William H. Grayley, C Company, 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry. He was a Black Scarfer.
So the Black Scarves were kind of known to be some of the fiercest fighters that we had over in Vietnam, weren't they?
Well, in the 1st Division they were. Yeah. Everybody, when you have a reunion, everybody sort of looks up, oh, you was a Black Scarf, you know, and you know, it distinguished us as, I don't like this, I don't want to bring us like on some kind of tough guy, but a badass, that we were good at what you did.
Well, I think I read somewhere that the bounty on you guys was about $300. In our money, and
yeah, I don't know exactly what it was, but there was a big bounty on us, and it was, you know, our call sign was Dracula. Why I don't know, but that's where our call sign was. If someone was going to land in our area, our base camp, they say Drac 6 is, you know, he's the head guy. Drac 6, clear for land. You know, that's what our call sign was.
You talked about when you got your the shrapnel in your ear, and they wanted to send you down to medical, and you denied that because you were going to go on R&R in 3 days. Where did you go on R&R?
Yeah, I went to Hong Kong.
How long were you there?
I was there a little longer. I was supposed to be there, I think, 6 or 8 days, and they sent me to a medical facility because my ear was bleeding, and they did what they could, and I'd think I probably was gone maybe 10 days.
Were you able to do anything while you were there?
Oh yeah, I bought a suit that I got married in, and I bought her some gifts, and yeah, I did a lot of stuff. Went bowling, did stuff that normal people did instead of
being out in the jungle.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Went across the Star Ferry, I call it. I think it's a ferry that went across there to where I went over to the new territories. Where Red China, as far as you could go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, how did you know when you were going to be leaving? Did you have a calendar that you kept, or was there a date specific that you were going to be coming home from Vietnam?
Yeah, you pretty well know. You start that calendar when you get over there. Mm-hmm. And and actually what they do is, I forget what it is, but it's called short timer. They sell these things, like if you do go to a base camp, you know, most of my time was in the jungle, but when I got to go to the base camp, I made the most of it, and most everybody did. And they sold short timer sticks. You'd walk around this stick in base camp, and you're bragging rights. I've been here, I've done it, I fought, and I'm getting ready to go home. And I think that right came to you when you had 30 days or less.
30 days or left to go.
Yeah, you got to remember it's a long time ago. But actually, to be honest with you, one of the guys I took to LBJ as an escort, the guy that became a minister, he was carrying his short timer stick, and some lieutenant made some kind of comment to him, and he was fiery. He was full of piss and vinegar, and he hit him with that short hammer stick in a bar, and we did a lot of our pleasure was in a bar, and they give him an Article 15 and give him some time in jail. But
What was an Article 15?
I think it's the most lenient
Citation.
and it's unusual you go to jail, but they since he hit an officer, he was an officer or something, they deemed it.
He had to do some time.
And, and the guy was as nice as the guy was as gentle as a kitten, and you would never think it, but he pissed him off. And there was a big thing though. When you come in from base camp, they really wanted to get you back out because they was like animals. So you've been out there, what you've been doing, and these guys probably never left the base camp, and they say something wrong, they're gonna that stuff's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. So what'd you do the last 30 days you were there?
Well, I rode them convoys, and then I got hit. So then right away I went on medical care. At Zion, that was my base camp then. I was TDY, whatever that means. It means I was loaned to the first supply and transportation from first and the second. I was just on loan. I was an infantry soldier, so they needed security. So I actually just kept doing that, and I didn't need to hear to do that, so I kept that up to the end. And as I got closer, I reported to the doctor. I says, I can go back for 3 weeks or something like that. And I says, when they released me, and I said, sort of like where I'm at, and I like taking these convoys, and they're good men. They knew what I'd been through, and they got me home. Had I actually, the only thing I feel bad about, I lost some good people, friends that really got in some stuff that I wasn't there, and I feel bad about that. But
Well, how did you leave Vietnam, and where from?
Tonsanute. We got on a plane, a commercial plane. Actually, somewhere I got, it was funny. Just thought about when you asked that question. When you get on an airplane seat, they got these cushions where your head. these things that slide over where your head goes. So when your head goes on, it starts wearing. They put new seat wrap covers on, like this tall, and they sit right over there. I took the one I rode on the train. I got it here. I can find it right now. It's in one of these suitcases I got, but I took it to remember that. And but what we did was we went on a plane. Good story. We stopped at Alaska. No, we stopped first at Japan and never got off the plane. But Alaska, they let us off the plane. And this one guy was drinking aftershave or something, because he was drunk by the time. You didn't have no alcohol or nothing on there, and they didn't serve no alcohol. But he was hammered by the time we got off the plane. But he was a lifer, probably. When you wear a CIB, it's Combatant Infantry badge. That goes on top of all your medals right here. That goes very top. You look, generals or what, you see that's on the top of their medals. And this guy, he'd been in the military so long, probably been busted so many times, but every war you've been in, you get a star. So if you get 1 for being in the first war, 2 being in the second war, 3, and some guys got 3 of them, 3, maybe 4 of them, I guess. And this guy that was drinking aftershave or whatever it was, you could see he was an old salty. He was. When I got to the bar at Alaska airport, there was a little bar there. He was already there. So he's been up through that route. Well, he was already sitting there. So what took you guys so long? But he's had more stars on his uniform. So he probably been in 30 years. You know what I'm saying? And been in a lot of wars. So, and probably been busted. He probably didn't. But anyway, pretty good story. But and this is I was got 2 Purple Hearts.
Well, you've got 2 Purple Hearts, Combat Infantryman badge. a Bronze Star
It's a
and
Bronze Star there.
Vietnam Service Medal with 4 battle stars.
Yeah, that's when a major deployment, when you most of them got 2 to 3, and the 1st Division had 4. You've been in the battle scars are major defenses, major battles, major operations. And then the Vietnamese give you this one. That's from Vietnam. I mean, that's from their government. And I got a good conduct medal.
Well, I don't know if there's a picture of you holding your rifle across an arranged swollen stream in search of the 271st Viet Cong Regiment in 1967. And I don't know if Mark, I don't think I mentioned that my cameraman today is Mark Summers, who has helped me on a number of these.
Doing a good job.
Thank you. I could see the pictures there, but the only thing you didn't really see is the cars.
Can't see that very well.
Not too well. Let me go another picture. There we go. Yeah.
You got it?
Not perfectly focused, but it's you can get the idea.
Here's another one. Here's men of the 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry, preparing to board helicopters for an air assault in Vietnam in 1967.
It's our very first, Delta Company's very first air assault. It was the first one we went out on. I found that, the guy sent me that, and I found that awful interesting. And that was full gear. That was probably 70 pounds on your back. It's what they call a hell-born assault.
Got it?
Yep.
All right. I'll send these things with your interview. So you stop in Alaska, then where do you go?
I went to Alaska, and then I went to Fort Dix, landed
Jersey?
New Jersey, where we landed, and didn't get any kind of orientation back. I maybe a few words, and caught a taxi, went to a civilian airport, and got a plane ticket home.
Were you in uniform or out of uniform?
Definitely uniform.
How'd they treat you at the airport?
Didn't have none of that, because it was a military airport. We landed at a military airport. Didn't have none of that stuff you got in California or nothing like that.
What airline did you fly coming home from Fort Dix?
I don't remember. Maybe Freedom Airlines. Wouldn't that be appropriate? Freedom Airlines. But I don't really remember.
And where did you come back to? Cincinnati?
Well, came back to Cincinnati, got married, 10 days.
Who met you at the airport?
My wife, my dad, my mom.
You weren't married yet, were
No,
you?
wasn't married then.
When did you and Donna get married?
Got married the 13th of July, 1968. And then she went with me we loaded the car up. She had a car, and we loaded the car up to Fort Benning, the Airborne School of Fort Benning, and Georgia.
Why did you go to Fort Benning?
Infantry. It's an infantry post.
Your tour wasn't completed, was it?
No, I had 8 months left to do, and actually what I did, we got off base housing supplied by the, we had to pay for it, but supplied by the Army.
Off base.
Off base, yeah. We got off base by a place called Baker Village, and we got that and tried to get our fares in order, and we're getting to the end here, but then we had to get her cards and everything so she'd get medical attention from she would be a property of the military since she was married to me. And so, and she can get into PX and all that stuff, and go get our food and all that. Probably in there 2 weeks, all of a sudden orders come down. I have to go to the Mountain Ranger camp to train Rangers going to Vietnam.
Oh.
And and that's in Dahlonega, Georgia. And I'm told that's where they made that movie Deliverance. And so I went up there with great resistance, got into it with another first sergeant.
Did Donna go with you?
No, she didn't. No, that was all. It was just a Ranger camp, and it was a small camp, and it was no, and that was the problem. So I go up there. I mean, we're on a deuce and a half, and they take us up there, and we're part of the training regiment for the Rangers getting ready to go to Vietnam. They was sending, the Rangers had disbanded somewhat, and at that time they was really gearing up for sending a lot more to Vietnam, and they was using us as part of the training exercises, and so I went a day or two or something like that, and I you didn't have cell phones and stuff, but you could get to a phone, and I talked to her, and her mom came down. She'd never been out of Mason, Ohio in her life, and her mom come down, worried about her little girl, and make sure everything good. And I got released to come back when the convoy they wouldn't let you come back on your own. They take a convoy week from week back and forth. It was about 300 miles from Benny, and I come back for her pay problem, go process all of her identification and everything, and this is an interesting story. You probably want to try to wrap it up, but I took a bunch of airborne guys over and cleaned this first sergeant didn't like it that I come back, so he kept me busy every day I was there, and I think he was jealous because I had a CIB and I had the 1st Division patch on, and he's probably never served, and he probably one of them guys that just, I don't know, jealous or something, who knows, but the CIB really means you've been in war and you've fought with a rifle, and they used to salute that years ago. They would salute the medal.
So CIB, is that
combat infantry badge? Yeah, I'm a life member of the CIB, and so that's only on the Army too, by the way, not Marines or anything, just Army combat infantry badge. I'm a member for life. And also a member of the Military Order of Purple Heart, so 2 of those distinguished organizations. But anyway, I went back, and he seen that, and he gave me guard duty. He gave me all this, and he didn't want me to have time to spend with my wife no more than I had to, or got in. So I cleaned this gym for all the officers' kids and everything, and this guy called me in his office. His name was Sergeant Major, or no, Major Semantics. He was a major, retired major. And I'm sitting there, he said, I'm going to tell you, Ron, this gymnasium's never looked so good. He says, I don't know what you fed them kids, or them young men, but I says, nah, he says, I guess I'm in a bad mood. I was pretty hard on them. I said, I need to take them out for a beer or something. And he says, well, he says, I'm really happy with it. And I looked up at his medals on his wall. He was retired, and he had a 1st Division. He said, I see you got one. I said, yeah, you're going to be one, be a big red one. And he knew what I was saying. It's a proud division, 1st Division. And he had that one, big red one, and he had it on his medal case. And I says, was you in Nam? No, but I was in, Europe with him. And so we talked, and he said, would you like this job full time? I said, like it. I said, I'd love it. And he said, well, go out and see the battalion, or the base sergeant major. That's the highest enlisted man at the base for Benny. I said, what? He said, he wants to see you. And I said, okay. And I went out and reported to him. And I told him how how I liked what I did. I'm pretty good with kids and everything like that. And I says, what is this, an interview? He says, yeah, but there's one caveat. I said, what's that? He said, I got a little grandson about this big. And he says, I'm going to have to buy him a helmet and pads and the whole deal to play Pee Wee football. And I says, and I just hate to part with that money when they got bins and bins of that up there in the Army, and I can turn it right back in when he's done. And I looked at him, I said, you're an honest man, turn it back in. He said, well, you only need it so long. And I says, when I come back, you tell me when to come back. I says, I'll take care of you. I says, got a picture of him. I want to see how big he was and everything. And he did. And I went to Szymanski. I says, you got to do this. I says, he gave me some probably stuff he was going to discard. And I got it for him, and I got the job. So I wore Levi's and a T-shirt my rest of my time. And Donna, I mean, we took him canoeing. Donna was with me a lot of times, and only time I had to put a uniform on and support and report for my pay, and that was to keep it official. But I had to report for my pay every month or month, and I had to do that, and I reported to him, and I never had to see that asshole first sergeant that I was reporting to. I'm glad I didn't.
Where were you released from the service from, Fort Benning?
Yeah, I was released. It was I was swimming in Columbus, Georgia, the day before I got out. And it was cold, but I was swimming. I took a swim, and at Baker Village had a little pool. And by the time I got to Lexington, there was 4 inches of snow on the ground.
So Pat, I want to ask, you've been to Vietnam, you almost get your head blown off, you had multiple injuries, you're down there training these guys doing all this, and how old are you?
20.
20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were just barely 20 when you got married.
Yeah. Yeah. I was 20. I was 19 when I got married. And then my birthday, well, I got out on 13th of December, so my birthday was February 2nd, so I would have been 20 then. I wasn't even 20. Or would have been 21. I don't know. You lose.
Yeah.
It's 68, I was 18. I was 67, I was 18. I might have been 21, okay, I think.
Just barely.
Yeah. And yeah, it was pretty interesting, and I just want to say I'm very, very proud of everybody I served with. I wish every one of them could get this honor to. I don't know if you're going to put that in a movie, this tape we're going to do, but to tell their story, because I was no hero whatsoever. I was another guy that did the same thing everybody else did, and I mean that with all my heart. And I've been very proud to tell my story.
Would you do it again?
Absolutely. You mean war? Go to war.
I mean, would you go? Would you?
I would not go to Donald Trump's war, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
But knowing what you had to go through, would you volunteer to go over there?
If it was a just cause, I absolutely would.
Well,
but not. Go ahead.
What did you?
If it was the same thing, I would.
So my thinking, it was a political war. When you were over there,
when I went over, I didn't know that, but when I came home, I did.
When you left there, what did you think about?
I thought it shouldn't. They never had it. Should have never had it. I thought they should have never had it. They didn't. We could have won that war. You know, when they was having them peace talks and everything. I mean, they could have won that. We won that war, but all of a sudden our government and everything. That's when we quit finding out what we're made of, and they demoralized the whole military and everything by being known that you lost a war, and we didn't lose it. We didn't lose it. We just didn't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sad. That's sad. There's so many brave men, and that's why I made that little statement. I'm not a hero. It's those 58,225 and more that's Maine for life. I'm very lucky.
Were you exposed to Agent Orange when you were there?
Oh, absolutely. I was in the worst area. Yeah, I was in since that was a Ho Chi Minh Trail, the whole reason for Agent Orange was to clear the canopy to get in there. That's where I was at, and I told you before, there ain't enough time, but I know how many gallons was dumped on that area, and I got it all because they wanted me to do a study of people what different areas, and we was in the worst part with that agent. Fortunately I haven't had too much problem. Most of them prostate cancer or this, that, and the other, and I had pre-diabetic. It's the only thing I've got that's related to Agent Orange, and maybe this heart. I had open heart surgery, and they contribute that to the Agent Orange. But I've been pretty lucky.
Well, so you came home, and tell me about your employment. How long did it take you to get a job, and what did you get?
I did this and that, and couldn't find a school. And what I did was I went to work for a heating and air conditioning company eventually down in Montgomery called Ray Williams, an old company, been around forever. And he had seen some value in me, and he had me signed up for OMI, Ohio Mechanics Institute, to take, to become a first-class HVAC technician, a mechanic. So I was putting in I was working with a guy that knew his stuff, but at the same time I volunteered for apprenticeship with the IBEW 648. It's electricians.
International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Yeah, and I was accepted, and luckily here's where the military came into was good for me, because usually that was a closed organization, brother, uncle, and all that, and because they made great money back then, and so I applied, but since I was a military guy, they took me the first year, didn't have to wait, and I got in. I went 4 years of night school and became same as a associate degree in electrical engineering, and I've become a master electrician. And that's what I did in my career. I did that, and I ended up owning a company. The company I worked for, I ended up being part owner.
What was that?
ESI Electric. I had two partners, Ray Harrison and Bob Harrison, and we grew a small little company to a major company, and did real well, and wired a lot of buildings, a lot of them in Lebanon, there where you live. And just real proud of that. My son's still there. He's a senior project manager for him.
So when did you retire?
I sold the business in 2001, and I retired in 2005. I stayed on as president until 2005, and then I went to work around here. Then I went to North Lake and built a house, and remodeled this one and a few things. And
North Lake is down in Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee. I bought lakefront property down there, and lived in a trailer 8 months and built a house, and then
Did you do a lot of the physical work yourself, building the house?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I never came home. Well, I come home every other week or something like that. But I mean, no, I built this house.
Tell me about your family. Yeah. How many children do you have?
I love my children. I got a daughter. My first child is Renee, and my son Dan is.
Oh, wait a minute, Renee.
Renee, Renee.
Is she married?
Married to John Seavey.
How do you spell that?
S-E-A-B-E-Y.
S-E-A-B or Y?
V-Y.
V-Y?
Yeah.
And where does Renee live?
She lives in, she's retired now, and he's retired. She lives in Loveland, and they just bought a place in Florida.
Loveland, Ohio?
Yeah.
Are they going to move permanently to Florida?
I don't think for a while. They got two kids at UD. And
how old's Renee?
Renee's 52.
And you have a son, I know.
Yeah, he's 49.
What's his name?
Dan.
Dan?
Yep.
And he works for the ESI?
Yep, he's a senior project manager.
Is he married?
Married to Lynette Dooley. They no children. And they live straight over that way about a mile.
What's their mailing address? Mason?
Mason, yeah. Bethany Road. Little country road. Now it's a highway. And he loves his house, but he gets tired of that traffic.
What, did you tell me how old he was? 40?
49.
49. Those are your only two children?
Yes, got the two grandchildren. Sophie, she's a
That's Renee's kids?
yeah. They're both. Sophie is she's a third year in college. They're both on the dean's list at UD, and then Penn. He just started Penn.
Penn?
Penn.
P as in Paul?
Yeah, Penn.
Is it UD too?
Yeah, he's a freshman. Just started. They're both doing real well. They're both good kids. I something. I show cars. I show. Well, you know, I told you.
Do you have a car collection?
Oh yeah, and then I told you I raced horses for 25 years and trained them and broke them.
Yeah.
Plus my electrical business, but I did both. I had a guy work for me and work with
And
me.
you told me you won a horse race.
Won a lot of them, but one I really liked was the Side of Downs. That's when you was going to the big time. You go to
That was just south of Columbus, Ohio?
Yeah. And then I run.
What did you have, trotters or pacers?
Well, I had I got my license with a trotter, but I borrowed it from my father-in-law. But I had all pacers that I owned, and but I could drive a trotter pretty good. And you got to drive them different. But yeah, and then I won a lot of them in Lebanon, and then that's when they raced at Latonia in Kentucky. I raced over there. I raced for a lot of years. Loved it and been down that track a few times and traveled on.
Now, I know you loved the Corvette that you first bought. What kind of cars do you show now?
I got a Corvette and I got an Amphicar. It goes in the water. That drives in the water. I got a 2000 Corvette. I'm the second owner. It's like brand new. Bought it in the mountains of Tennessee. Found it. And the guy had Alzheimer's, and his wife had to part with it. And I show them in concourse shows, and the concourse shows are different because they give back. I believe in, the rest of my life I'm going to try to give back, and it's been good to me. And
so you pay a fee to enter your car, and they get part of that fee to
right for kids, for children, medical research and treatment for children, different things, arthritis, so forth. But no, and then so I show in Keeneland, I show in Amelia Island, Hilton Head. I mean I'm into it pretty good, and I got a bike too.
So what's the second vehicle you have?
The Amphicar. It's called Amphicar. That's who made. They made them. They drive in the water and drive out. And I'm getting a clutch put in it now. I'll show it to you.
Who makes that?
Amphicar. It's made the same town that they made Volkswagens.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, they made them from 62 to 68.
What year is yours?
Mine's a 67. They made 3,700 of them, and there's maybe 600 left that can do it.
So how do you spell that?
AMFPHICAR.
Oh, so that's German. AMP.
Yeah, it's got a Triumph motor in it. Got a Porsche transmission. It's got two of them. Water and I like unusual stuff. And then I got a bike, a Whizzer. You know what a Whizzer is, don't you?
Bicycle?
Well, the motorbike.
Oh, WHIZZER.
I got one of them.
That's old.
48. I was born the year I was born, and I show it at Concourse. It's Concourse. It's Concourse quality. It's very nice. I got it in the garage, and I show it. I think I'm showing it at Hilton Head this year. And but
we've been yakking here for a long time. Mark, anything come to mind?
Well, yeah. Can you think of any examples of how the training you had in Tigerland saved you, or?
I think what it is, it just got you. It's a shock. Like I told Pat, on a 22-day trip over to Vietnam, you got a lot of time to think. and I think with that I think that added extra time, because that was strictly just for Vietnam. That wasn't for. That's the only reason they built that, was for Vietnam, and it's like that's probably the whole thing. The whole experience was so beneficial that got you ready early.
Get you mentally prepared.
Yeah, mentally, and that's a big thing. And the other thing of it is, it's because when you pulled in there, they had, I'll never forget it, they had a Viet Cong or NVA on the ground and a soldier's foot on him. I don't know why, but it was somebody put up there, and it said, "Welcome to the Tigerland, the home of the combat soldier for Vietnam," and that left no doubt where you was going to go. And everybody was hanging to that. Well, maybe I'll go to Germany, or maybe I'll go to this, because you didn't know, but you knew when you went there. Yeah. So I think that happened, and then I think the training was geared more to just jungle warfare, which but basic isn't. It's for everything, but it was all geared for that. So that was the single most thing, right? I stayed with the guys. There were 1,651 of us. A lot of them, all of us went to delegate. We knew these guys. I knew the guys for 2 months before, 3 months before.
I was just wondering. I don't know. You said you ate mostly field rations there. If any of those guys that were shooting the wild boars ever decide to roast one up?
Oh, I'd be surprised. I don't know. They probably knew someone down in town, and there's always stuff going on, And I'll give it to so and so, he'll cook it up for us. We didn't get many leaves, but we did get some leaves. So, maybe I didn't. I heard that. Maybe I didn't see it, because there was a lot of guys training there, But you hear everything, And when there was a good story, everybody was ready to listen, and there was a lot of time to drink beer. They had a town real close called Leesville. Of course, the soldiers like the ladies, and they called it Diseaseville. So you wanted to say out there. The only thing that if we're going to run out of time, it's okay. But for you guys, if you wanted to look at that tape, it's just a rare thing to see this, if you have never seen nothing like this.
Well, if he has the time, I want to do that.
I'd love to see it, yeah.
It ain't that long.
Talk about sea rations. I've heard some guys say the sea rations they got were from World War II.
Yeah, they say that. I didn't experience that, but no, they had beanies and weenies. I liked that the most. They had pound cake. That was the best dessert. And we'd cook it with C4, the C4 ration. Mm-hmm. We'd pinch off a piece, and instantly it was cooked. Instantly. So you just light it with a lighter. Now you don't want to stop on it, because you
blow your foot off.
It could. It takes a blasting cap to set off C4, and we. I never wanted to stop on it, but I didn't want to find out. I always heard you blow your foot off, but it makes sense. I think it's the concussion of the cap plus a strike must have something to do with that. I've heard people do that. Some of them did. They wanted to get out so bad they jump out of a tree and with their ankle, different to break their ankle and everything else. They wanted to get out of the war so bad. Yeah. And it was pretty common, and to hear about stuff like that, or jump out and land on their arm to break their arm or something like that. And
ever hear of any intentional?
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
Maybe somebody didn't like the second lieutenant, and that night they might have a grenade rolled into their hooch.
Absolutely, and I've heard a lot of threats that way too. You don't want to mess with me. I mean, everybody's on edge, But fortunately, we was a pretty tight unit. But that happened. And
what was your highest rank?
I was made E5 acting sergeant, but I never got my orders, so I was E4 Spec 4. And I didn't get it because I got wounded, and that first sergeant didn't put them in there because they are so petty. A lot of that stuff, they're so petty that I never did ask about it, because to be honest with you, when I learned how to walk point, Yorkovich told me, he says, never don't take anything. He said, and listen, don't be a squad leader. Don't be. He says you're going to have all these people behind you, and you're already given enough. You don't want to be the platoon sergeant because you're babysitting. You're watching the whole thing, and there'll be plenty of people to do that. And I listened to what he said.
Well, talking about ranks, I've had many guys tell me that the fellow you really wanted to listen to was a sergeant who had been there, and not the lieutenant or second lieutenant. Or
no, most of them was Greener Sword.
Yeah.
The sergeant that had been there a while, Lipscomb, I'll never forget his name, got killed by friendly fire. Mortar came in, or artillery came in on us, and it killed him. He was from Leesville. It was ironic, but his name was Sergeant Lipscomb, and they contributed to friendly fire.
Our own artillery came in, and
our own short round or burst round, whatever, it killed him. He got stuck in chest wound. Nice man, tall guy. He was my platoon sergeant.
Well, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to add before we look at your?
Well, just a couple other things. My battalion commander got killed. He was he was O'Connor, Mort O'Connor. This tape we're going to talk to came from his son, which was a Harvard grad, journalist, works for the Kennedys. He made the report when John Kennedy plane went all over the place. John Jr. He was the guy that on TV that made the report. But he came here to interview me because he heard at some reunions that I was a pretty good soldier, I guess, or some reason pointed out that I'd like to interview you and for a book or a movie about my dad and the Black Scarves, and he ended up getting snowed in, and but he brought that tape and gave me that tape, and that's how I got it. So any great guy, we talk about once a year or something like that. He's retired now, but he was just a little boy when his dad got killed. His grandpa and his great grandpa was West Point grads too. So.
Yeah. Well, let me thank you for this interview and thank you for your service. We'll take a break in the interview and we'll see if we can get this tape shown.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And they said, okay, go with that one. So it takes a little bit of time to do that, but this is very.
Now, is that printing now?
I might have seen this.
I mean,
That's remarked.
But in this case, the evidence of victory is very clear.
I'm in one of these.
The sharpshooter just well dug into his.
This is where I got one right here.
An enemy soldier is simply an object to be examined for documents, then removed as quickly as possible, sometimes crudely. No one says a prayer here or holds a funeral service.
just hold it.
These had been living, breathing men yesterday. Today, they are just a sanitation problem.
There they are. Mark, you may turn the light off? I can start.
That was just kind of reflecting on it.
There were 48 bodies of dead enemy soldiers piled up in the perimeter of the 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry, awaiting burial. There are battles when it's difficult to know quite how badly the enemy has been hurt. But after the fight here last night, the troops of the U.S. 1st Division held the ground and could count the bodies of the men they had killed.
I might say here that in the 1st Division, we have a very ironclad policy of positively identifying our kills. We claim probables when we aren't completely sure but have a high percentage of assurance. Whenever we claim body count, we have either actually picked up the body or we've had 2 men see the body on the battlefield before we left the battlefield area. So we do not, contrary to what may have been put out someplace in the press, we do not exaggerate.
Well, are you always sure that the count that you get from your units in the front is accurate? That is to say, couldn't the men in the heat of battle or the immediate post-combat situation make a mistake, want to see more damage to the enemy than really happened?
This is always a possibility. That's the reason why we require at least 2 men, corroboration, on every body we claim in body count. Now, in addition, We follow up this very closely in our intelligence channels. I might say here that a review of the overall intelligence picture generally indicates that we underrate our claims on the average from about 1 to 2 to 1 to 3. This same battalion, by the way, back on the 2nd of October, had an engagement which I believe I recall it was 11 people was all they claimed, of 15. You lose track after a while. But later figures showed it was 40 some odd, I think it was the figure. This is representative.
Now, is that a Chinook?
I think this is the one I'm in. I think that's me right there.
With the shirt off?
No, I had my
See in the rear, fully searched. He has been, all his pockets. The battalion, but I'm sure other units have done equally well, if not better.
That's a prisoner.
Good, go ahead and return back up. I did not need it.
Another prisoner.
Armies historically have tended to exaggerate the casualties they inflict on the other side, and it's hard to accept all the claims of enemy killed in this war. But in this action, the 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry did all the damage it claimed to have done. In combat, there are no niceties. A dead enemy body is simply an object to be examined for documents, then removed as quickly as possible, often crudely. The bodies of the enemy don't make pretty pictures, but this is what measures whether you win or lose a battle. The commanders in this battle, Lieutenant Colonel Morton O'Connor, Colonel George Newman. These are the lucky ones. There are only 6 of them still alive, found in front of the company outposts. Lieutenant J. Murphy commanded Charlie Company when the communist troops tried to come in.
My commander right there in the middle.
The gentleman on the left is Lieutenant Colonel Mortimer O'Connor, commanding officer of the 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry, 1st Infantry Division. And his commanding officer, the 1st Brigade Commander, Colonel George Newman. And now we'll just wait about 5 or 10 more seconds and establish us. Okay, I'm ready to go, Alex. Are you tight? This apparently was a very one-sided battle. Why was it so one-sided?
Well, there's a number of reasons. First, Charlie was above ground, we were below ground. That is, we had the advantage of defensive fortifications. The second reason is we had magnificent fire support. He can't touch us when it comes to fire support. Aircraft from the Air Force, gunships from the Army, all sorts of artillery, 4 Deuce, 105, 155, direct lay 105, plus the assets of my own battalion, 81 millimeter mortars, rifles, machine guns. He just can't match us in firepower.
And last night, what was the score? How many casualties did you take and how many did he take?
I lost a total of 4 killed and 14 wounded. Charlie lost, and we're still counting, 48 dead, and we've taken 6 prisoners so far.
A lot of the action seemed to be this one-sided. Why is it? Is it because we have more firepower?
Well, I think...
What was the case last night?
Well, last night the case was Charlie tried to do something stupid. He tried to overrun a tough position. And when he does something stupid, he pays the price for it.
Well, there's often a lot of skepticism about the casualty figures, particularly the claims we make about the damage we do to them, because it is so one-sided. In this case, there doesn't seem to be any argument. We can see they're dead over there. But is it always this clear? Do you always know that you killed as many as you killed this time?
Well, you do in the defensive positions. When you're out in a meeting engagement in the jungle, frankly, you're moving through the jungle. We don't have time to stay and pick them all up.
Well, there's often a lot of skepticism about the claims we make of enemy casualties. I take it on this occasion there's no reason to be skeptical.
No, as Colonel O'Connor pointed out, this is a defensive position. Here we have the advantage. We're staying in this position. We intend to man it until we're ready to leave the area. We'd be happy for him to come back. We had the firepower. We drove him off the battlefield. We still control the battlefield. We have patrols out today, so the bodies are here where we can count them. When we have a meeting engagement, or when we have an engagement early in the evening, in which the enemy has the bulk of the night in which to recover his dead and wounded, we have more trouble.
Main force guerrillas, North Vietnamese, or what?
These troops are primarily from the 273rd VC Regiment. We've identified troops from 2 battalions by documents taken off these bodies. They are regulars. There may be some local force augmentation with them. This often happens in VC engagements, but these are regulars.
Tell me, if you know you killed this many, if you have collected over 40 bodies, how many, in fact, do you think you must have killed and wounded? Well,
Charlie's bringing his dead down here, so we're going to move down here.
Colonel, you claim, or you counted, you gathered over 40 enemy bodies, 48 I believe. Does that mean that's all the damage you did, or do you think you did more? And how do you calculate that?
Well, I'm confident we did a lot more. The battalion here has killed these people right on position. In addition, we searched this whole area with artillery, mortars, and air. And following through what I was saying a little while ago, generally later intelligence estimates indicate that we underclaim the actual kills. I would say that conservatively, this action wipes out these 2 battalions as combat effective for at least the next 3 to 5 weeks. They probably lost somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 250 total killed, probably equally as many wounded.
It had been a one-sided action. 4 U.S. soldiers dead, 14 wounded, against 48 communists killed, 6 captured, and nobody knows how many more wounded. There were 3 companies of American troops defending this jungle position. The Americans were deeply dug in. The bunkers were reinforced. The communist attack, a frontal assault, seemed suicidal. By midday after the battle, Americans were not only finding more bodies, they were also finding some of the enemy who had survived. A prisoner of war. He says he's 19 years old, that he comes from North Vietnam, that he marched for 2 months to get here, that this was his first battle. And now another, more seriously wounded prisoner comes in. Unable to move or escape, this prisoner is brought in for medical treatment and interrogation. These are the lucky ones. Only 6 of them were found still alive in front of the outposts. The enemy soldiers may have been young and inexperienced, but they were not ill-equipped. The booty of war, rocket launchers, machine guns, and rifles, and the ammunition the weapons fire. 23 captured weapons so far, many of them brand new. The rifles, Chinese-made, the other weapons from Eastern Europe and Russia.
The initial attack, it was dark, they couldn't see it, and they ran right into it. A lot of them got hung up in the wire, and we just slaughtered them on the wire.
Why was it such a one-sided?
That's a bunker. See the fire port?
Yeah.
Hey, Sergeant Courtois! Sergeant Courtois! He's going to...
He's not talking at all?
Sergeant Alexander, is this Memphis? Go back to the other end.
Yeah, he said he had just copies of.
Those AK-47s? Are those AK-47s?
Yeah, rifle.
And all those devices in the rear rows with the points on them. Those Alex in the back. Rolling. Very often after a heavy action, it's hard to tell who won and who lost and just which way the... Very often after a heavy action, it's hard to tell who won and who lost. But today, with the troops of the 1st Division, it's very clear how the latest battle came out.
Me too. Yeah.
Very often after a heavy action, it's hard to tell just quite what happened and who won. But in this action, there's no question. Very often after a heavy action, it's not clear who won.
That's why we got the reputation.
The claims of victory.
My scar.
But today, the evidence is overwhelming. The battle fought here last night was very one-sided.
They ran into a buzzsaw, but they did.
Very often after a heavy action, it's hard to tell who won and who
Why
lost.
did they have to do this so many times?
The claims of victory.
Taking
But today,
it, something they don't
Different
like.
takes
the
to
victory is
yeah,
overwhelming.
edit it, take it back from the back. Wish we could do that sometimes.
Well, they do. You can tell that.
Often, after a battle,
they
it's
don't
hard
get
to
shook
tell
up, you know,
quite
they
what
just do it.
happened or who won. And sometimes it's hard to believe all the claims of victory. But in the battle fought here last
That guy
night,
that
there's
took
no
it while I was
question
going through
about
that
who
range
won and
small
who.
deal.
The evidence is
That was a
everywhere. It's
photographer.
gruesome and it's visible.
I says,
Oh.
get a picture for me, like that, and he turned around, he was already through it, and took a picture. But I mean, most of the time we didn't have them guys with us. They didn't want to go with the Black Stars. They knew they was going to
It
get
was
some
too
shit.
dangerous.
Is that the end of it, or is there more?
Now there's more. It's funny. I watched the whole thing, so I knew that.
Which is a wind band. Armies historically have tended to exaggerate the casualties they've inflicted upon the enemy. And it's hard to believe that as many Viet Cong have been killed as the American Army says have been killed in this war. But there's no question with the 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry about the damage that was done last night. Robert Shackney, CBS News, near the Cambodian border.
We're right on the border.
All armies historically have tended to exaggerate the casualties they've inflicted on the enemy.
See, they've done 2 or 3
Sometimes it
takes,
seems
and they're
hard
going
to
to pick
believe
them
the American
up.
Army
Then they
has
send
killed
this
as
thing
many
to TV
Viet
at
Cong and
home.
North
Yeah.
Vietnamese as has
Send
been
it back to
claimed.
the studio.
But there's no
I don't know. I
question
don't know if they
there
let
have
them do
been
that or not.
second
I don't know back in the time, but they do this for war, for the war.
Armies have historically tended to
training
exaggerate
and
the
stuff.
casualties they've
Yeah.
inflicted
But I
upon
don't
their
think
enemies.
this. I don't
And
think this ever
sometimes
went
it's
to the
hard to
people.
believe that the American Army
This
can have
one- this
killed as many communist
Well,
soldiers
with
as
the
has been
of
claimed.
course it was taken
But here with
because of the
1st Battalion,
embellished
2nd Infantry,
body
we
count.
know the
Yeah.
body count in this action is accurate. Robert
They're
Shackney,
trying to prove that
CBS
they don't.
News, near the
They don't
Cambodian
do
border.
that. You know. But
All armies historically have tended to exaggerate the amount of casualties they've inflicted on the enemy. And indeed, it's hard to believe that the American Army could have killed as many communist soldiers in this war as has been claimed. But in this action, there's no question that the 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry, did as much damage as it said it did. Robert Shackney, CBS News, near the Cambodian border.
I think there's a little bit more to it.
Charlie 6, track 6.
Now that battalion commander, he's dead. He got sniper. That's who his
Yeah.
son came, and he was him and his dad was a general, and his grandpa was a general.
Charlie 6, track 6.
And he was trying to be a general. He was lieutenant commander. West Point. They're all West Point.
West Point.
Couldn't think of the name of it.
Somebody doesn't have the sound on.
Now this guy, he wasn't there. He was in headquarters. He was probably in Zion, and he come out there. That's the guy. That's the commander there. He's blood and guts. He smoked a cigar and so let's kick their ass. He was
Colonel, why was the
tougher than
action
hell.
so one-sided?
Got
So many
shot
of them
hard.
killed, so few of us killed. Well, what was the score? How many casualties did we take? How many casualties did they take? Colonel, there's sometimes skepticism about the number of enemy we say we killed. Are we always as sure as we are at this time? Well, how can you always tell how many of the enemy you've killed? In this case, what are they? Are they regulars? Are they Viet Cong? Are they North Vietnamese?
They go back and they edit in the questions.
Yeah. They piece it all together.
Yeah, he redoes his questions so they can.
That's an enemy. That's interpretive. They had one thing they do. They get them in the chopper, and I know they do it. It's just been going around forever, but it's the truth. They'll have three of them in there, and they won't talk, and they'll sit there and throw one out, and they'll just shut up. That's what they do. I mean, I know that for a fact. I
don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
Sometimes they'll have 4 or 5 of them in here, and then they don't want the other one to know that they're building guts. And some of them old farts, I don't know if I can do that, but they throw them out, and then they can't shut them up.
What is it that you've captured here? It looks like quite a bit of loot. Starting
Well,
with
those
These
RPGs.
are hand grenades.
Yeah, well,
These are Chicom hand grenades. These are 6mm mortar. These are a shaped shard which shoots up in the air and comes down and blows. It's a parachute. These are machine guns.
See, they got
These
parachutes
two here
on.
and those two over there are machine guns. These stretched out in front of you, AK-47 assault guns.
Those are the Chinese-made rifles.
That's right, they're assault guns, automatic fire. We've got 16 of those. We have 2 50 caliber or at least heavy caliber machine gun mounts, but unfortunately Charlie picked them up and lugged them out when he pulled back.
And those shells with the tails on them, what are they, rockets?
Those are rockets. They're similar to our bazooka round.
See, that could have been a rocket that hit
They're
our
shaped charge
bumper
launchers.
too. I don't really know. You don't know.
Good penetrating power.
It could have been
such as any shaped charge
RPG
does.
or
These
just
things,
rocket. It was
these
enough
things will
force
bust the bunker if you don't have a good
to get that concussion.
heavy
It
tunnel burn
probably
on it.
was a
That is
rocket.
dirt.
Is this as good a haul as you've ever had after a single given engagement?
Well, I can't say that. I've only had the battalion 5 with.
You've captured over 20 rifles and machine guns and other weapons. How much did you lose?
No, we didn't lose any weapons.
Not one.
We own the battlefield. When we own the battlefield, this is our haul. If Charlie owns the battlefield, which isn't very damned often, he gets some weapons. We didn't lose a single
He's
weapon.
tougher than hell. I wish I knew him better before he died. He had 6 kids. 6 little kids. Good Catholic, keeping up from Boston.
I don't know what it is.
What was the ratio of blacks in your 1061 unit?
What now?
The ratio of blacks in your 1060.
Maybe not even 10%. The ones we had was pretty good soldiers, but we had a lot of them that there was the guys jumping out of the trees with their foot, and they They couldn't take fear like a white guy. Now some of them was meaner than shit. Don't get me wrong, but
My ambush patrol.
we had some people from Guam. We had Indians, a lot of Indians from like the reservation.
Native Americans? Were they good fighters?
Yeah, good fighters. But a lot of city boys took them a while, but once they took them a while because they weren't raised with hunting or nothing like that. Hell, they couldn't hit their ass with both hands. They couldn't get them, but they ended up being good, you know. Them Tennessee boys seemed like they was all good.
Just old hill boys.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
How did it get to be such a one-sided battle last night? What happened?
well, the first thing that developed was a mortar attack on our positions. The VC attacked us with 60-millimeter mortars, and this alerted our lines that there was enemy in the area. Most of our people got in their bunkers. Well, all of the people got into bunkers at that time.
I would.
Yes, sir, they are. My lines run right up on around this open
I was
area
put in for a Silver Star, never got it.
This is Lieutenant...
So was you, Kane. I don't know if you got it or not, but I didn't. We both put in for a Silver Star.
Well, this is your perimeter.
I got Bronze Star.
Now, those stumps of trees that you used to cover the bunkers?
open field and overrun my company sector.
Yeah, maybe
Well, what
that.
did you see last night? Did you see people come charging up
I
like
don't
an old
know.
Western movie?
Yes, sir, we sure did. Initially, the ambush, which was out in the tree line approximately 100 meters.
That might have been stuff they cut down to put the tops on the
bunker,
ambush. At that time, they killed 4 VC in their ambush.
You see the hooks is got the little. That's where you sleep under. Now, if you see tents, them are commanders. They bring a tent out and they get a nice tent and all that.
Illumination up in the area. And we had approximately 10 VC come out of the tree line.
We
there,
were
out into
strictly
the open
fodder.
point on line. And then they started advancing on.
But you don't ever think you're anything but
At that time, we
that.
opened up on them with small arms and indirect fire weapons like your mortars, artillery.
Rich man war with poor
M79,
man's
which is a
son.
grenade launcher.
Were you ever in trouble during the action? Or did you think you could hold all the time?
No,
Your bunkers?
no, sir, they never did get to our bunkers. We have a triple concertina wire across our front.
Good battle. So many of them killed, so few Americans.
Well, the main thing was the advance warning. Our ambush, sprung their ambush, alerted the line that there was enemy in the area. Everybody was alert and
One on
ready,
each side.
just set for the kill. They tried to come across that open area and they were just setting ducks out there. We got the artillery and mortar working this tree line here real heavy, and that was apparently their staging area. They probably grouped up in a tree line to come across the open, and we just had them caught dead to rights.
I'd
We
say
just had
most of the
enough
blacks in
advance
our
warning and we
area
were just ready for them.
good soldiers, but the ones they didn't keep them long. They shove them off to something else.
How did they come at you?
Well, they came out in groups of 10, 6 to 10. There are berms that run through the perimeter there. They got down on the berms and tried to crawl along the berms up to my bunker
I feel
system.
privileged to serve with
We
a
had
lot of good men.
berms covered with claymore mines, which is a mine that blasts directly out.
You see, these people are
They
intelligent.
approached up
These
the
guys
berms,
make
we
it.
blasted our
They're
claymore mines.
intelligent people.
And
They listen, you know,
it certainly was.
they ain't just blabbering a bunch of
we
shit.
just really
Yeah.
cleaned up on them. It was really a one-sided fight all the way through. We were never in any serious trouble. They
probably
never did get past
he's
our
probably a
concertina
platoon
wire.
leader and one
They
of
were
them
never any
back.
closer than 30 meters to my forward bunkers.
I'd say he's a lieutenant, second lieutenant. I think there's a little bit more in it. Nope. Yep, there you go. Yeah, because it's almost it's worth watching, isn't it? You'll never see nothing like that unless you. That's so etched in my
That it?
brain. Yeah, that's so etched in my brain that